Hello, Tri-Finger Butthole! Yeah, welcome to Gooncast. Hey, guess what? It's gonna be Elden Ring and Scream. I'm Saber0307, also James. And I'm once again joined by Kat and Lee. Do your shit.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kat, aka the Attack Cat on Twitch. Dialogue designer by day, writer / horror enthusiast / fucking Elden Ring platinum getter. Let's go by night.
Yeah. All right, let's get this over with. I gotta play some more Elden Ring. What's up? It's Lee Alder, the Valley Jester. Fantasy horror. Okay, I gotta go play Elden Ring. I'll catch y'all later.
All right, that's the shortest Gooncast ever. All right, later, guys. Have a good one. Everybody get fucked. Go play Elden Ring.
All right, but in seriousness,
yes,
yeah, we're here to talk about Scream and Elden Ring. But we're gonna start with Scream because we have a lot more to talk about with Elden Ring. That's gonna be the bulk of the podcast.
Yes.
Bit of a spoiler cast, but not too bad.
Yeah.
I think Scream will definitely be a spoiler cast.
Scream will be spoiler cast
because we're gonna talk about the killers. So.
And a victim.
Yeah.
And a victim. Yes.
As far as the Elden Ring, like, so much of the content in there is spoiler sensitive and everything, so we want to try and reserve a portion of that up front so that if you haven't played the game yet and we're able to convince you, then you're still going in pretty blind.
I do have a note on that for the discussion, but yeah, just because I kind of feel like out of the specific context that they're in, I think a lot of the spoilers for Elden Ring don't make sense either way. So
yeah,
other than a few very choice ones that are like, oh shit.
I mean, at least for me, like as just before we get into Scream, like as a FromSoft fan who has been playing these sorts of games for about a decade now, I even go, I consider like gameplay areas and certain like even almost like bosses spoilers, not even necessarily for a lore point, but like I did not watch any single Elden Ring trailer.
Oh, sure, yes. I didn't either. And
because I was like, the game's announced, I'm going completely dark. I don't want to see a fucking thing because I just want it pure blind.
Okay, we should discuss that more when we discuss Elden Ring, because I also, have my story of how I got into it. But let's talk Scream first.
Yeah.
Thoughts, gentlemen?
Right out the gate, you need to, with a movie like this, you need to point out the fact that we are still in the era of horror remakes and reboots.
And legacy
sequels, as they say in Scream.
Yeah.
Requels and Lega sequels. So you can't have a discussion about the new Scream without pointing to that. And shit, on this podcast, we've even talked about quite a few already. The new Candyman,
the Halloween stuff, Texas Chainsaw.
Halloween, Texas. Oh, don't remind me, Texas Chainsaw.
Oh my God.
I live with it, so you have to too. You
the therapy was working.
No.
God. Every time I think of that movie, I think of another thing I just hate about it.
No, see, that's what's unreal. Like, I don't want to harbor on it too long, but folks out there, you need to understand this. I'll be in traffic sometimes and just start white knuckling the steering wheel because I happen to remember that movie.
And we
I'll just send an angry text to Kat like it happened again.
And we hated Fear Street more, but Texas Chainsaw makes us matter. Because at least we can meme Fear Street with the double.
Exactly. Fear Street has like goofy meme shit and also some moments of like decency. Like the second movie being a high point, and also the
first half of the third.
The first half of the third, yeah. Like definitely
Fear Street tried.
Exactly. It did. Some of the tried a little too hard.
And Texas Chainsaw just says, hey, leatherfuck. And stopping
the
chainsaw. Speaking of which,
y'all are interested in more of a rant about this.
Ghostface doesn't stop a bus with his knife, so 0 out of 10. Do not recommend.
Yes. If y'all want to hear us rant more about this game or about this movie, we have another podcast on it. So
yeah. So the one good piece of news to lead up with in regards to all those other reboots and everything floating around is, with the exception of the first Halloween reboot a couple years back, this one is probably one of the best. I mean, that's not stiff competition.
Yeah.
It's not saying a whole hell of a lot, but it is probably one of the best ones to come out since that wave kind of had its resurgence.
Yeah, I would say it's the best Scream sequel since Scream 2. And this is coming from somebody who I know it gets shit on a lot, but I personally think Scream 4 is fine.
Yeah, I like
it's fine.
And you've got a poster of Scream 3 above your bed.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. No, actually it's a poster of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. First one.
Oh, there you go.
Had that since I was like 4 years old, man.
Damn.
Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, no, it's the best Scream sequel for me since Scream 2. I still prefer Scream 2, but like seeing Sydney and Dewey and Gale again, and hearing Ghostface again. I think the actor's name is Roger Jackson, the voice actor for Ghostface.
Yes,
he is still just as fucking intimidating. And he's like
Mojo Jojo.
He's Mojo Jojo. Yeah.
Lee.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh man, now I need him to like. Oh, maybe I can find him on Cameo and have him do like some Mojo Jojo stuff in the Scream voice and then edit it into the movie.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
You know, phone rings, pick it up. You know, hello. What is your favorite scary movie? And when I say scary movie, I mean one that is of the horror genre. And when I say the horror genre, I mean one of the...
Yeah.
Because it's me, Ghostface.
That would be
there
wonderful.
You go. That's perfect.
Yeah, like he is still so fucking goddamn intimidating. Just his voice.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was also really impressive to me how like effortless it felt to me to get to see them back in these characters.
Okay. Like, yeah, let's go right in on that because this one felt organic.
Yes. Yes. Like, oh my god, and you know, like nothing against Jamie Lee, but you know, like Laurie Strode in the new Halloween is a very different character than the previous one, and that's very intentional.
Yeah.
But here, like for Scream, these characters all felt like very natural, organic extensions of who they were in the previous movies. And it was just like seeing them kind of like slip back into, you know, like as soon as they're back in Woodsboro, they're kind of like slipped back into their kind of like, you know, essentially who they were, but with like a lot of character growth, like, you know, like Dewey being kind of like a, you know, down on himself as like a failure on this regard. Gale being like, I'm not fucking writing a book about this shit.
Yeah,
like
Gale actually growing a conscience.
Yeah,
like, Gale grew a conscience. Yeah. Oh god.
Sydney being like, no, I got fucking family. I don't want to fucking get involved.
Yep. Yeah. No. It all felt really good, and seeing them kind of like, you know, advising the new generation, sort of in it's all very meta, and yet even within the fiction of these are characters speaking to characters, it felt good.
Yeah,
and it's meta in the way that like we've come to expect from Scream.
Exactly.
Like we want that self-aware, fourth wall breaking sort of atmosphere about it, and this script had a really solid way of keeping up to date and conveying it. So like, you know, a lot of the tropes that the first Scream movies talked about were super relevant for the time of, you know, 90s films. And then a lot of the script in this one, it's pointing a lot of fingers and making remarks to a lot of things that are big in the current film industry and media, and not in that way that makes it sound like, you know, a mob of people pointing their fingers and going, "Oh, let's talk about the thing." Like something about just the strong writing. It makes it feel totally natural and still feel appropriately like a Scream movie.
Yeah, it feels organic. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel shoehorned in. Yeah. There's even like a narrative reason as to why this movie... Yeah, there's a narrative reason as to why this movie is just called Scream as opposed to Scream 5. You know, like that thing that I've stated numerous times that I hate, where a legacy sequel has the same title as the original. I still don't like it because I it just makes things confusing, but at least it's like they're calling it out, and it's like, okay, I get what you're doing. I don't like this trend, and even in this instance, I don't like that, but I appreciate that you're calling this bullshit out.
They at least didn't do the thing where they just turned one of the letters into a number.
Well, I mean, that's what Scream 4 did, and I think
Didn't Scream 3 also?
Yeah, Scream 3 might have.
The E3?
But Scream 3 is still called Scream 3.
Yeah, and Scream 4 is still called Scream 4.
Right, that would be like if this, I'm saying like if for this one they just took out the E and made it the number 5.
No, they took
the
out,
movie's just still called Scream.
You don't, for Lee, 5 is not 3. That would be S, so it would be 5EM.
5cream.
Yeah,
5cream.
5cream. Oh god.
They should have done it, you cowards. So anyways, 5cream.
Yeah, so 5cream.
By the way, I'm updating the title of this podcast to try 5cream butthole.
God damn. Perfect. Okay, so now let's get into spoilers, because I think spoilers are where we have like our only complaints about the movie.
Yeah.
I think so.
If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's good.
Yeah, watch it. It's great. But we are going to harp on 2 minor things, basically. That
I know this comes as a shock. I know this comes as a shock to people listening out there, but we actually have a glowing recommendation for something to go watch.
Yeah,
I know, right?
When was the last time that we've done that and it wasn't like schlock, like our normal jank shit?
Like
Dune?
Maleficent? Dune, I think. Yeah.
Dune and Malignant. Yeah.
Or Malignant, not Maleficent. What the fuck?
Atreides nuts and Maligma balls.
Yeah. Oh no! Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City as well. I mean, that was schlock.
That was schlock.
It's
that
not
movie's
fucking...
a piece of shit, but it's great.
It's an awesome piece of shit.
It's not fucking Grave Encounters though. I mean, look, I love Grave Encounters, but
Grave Encounters is
Welcome to Raccoon City could have benefited from having a leathery warlock in it.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah, every movie like that could benefit from a leathery
warlock.
A leathery Steven Tyler.
Steven Tyler Wesker.
Warlock Wesker. Oh my god. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right. So let's hit those spoilers now.
So I think our first complaint comes from a certain legacy character's death.
Yeah.
Scene.
Spoilers. Dewey dies.
Yeah, and it's not in so much that the movie kills him, because I think all of us are in agreement that, like, a legacy character should die. Ups the stakes. It really brings it home for the viewers who have been tuned in since Scream 1.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It hurts.
It's the way.
Dewey was
the way he died.
Yeah, Dewey's my favorite. Like, let me be clear. Dewey's my favorite character, and like seeing him die or like in any capacity would fucking gut me, and it hurts. Similar to like seeing Randy die in Scream 2. But so the way he dies is so fucking stupid.
Yeah, one of you set the scene. Tell me, like, explain to the audience how this death scene happens and why we're pissed about it.
So basically,
James, you take it. He's your boy.
So basically, like, the killer shows up at the abandoned wing of the hospital that the main character's sister is at, because she has a private floor. All the cops who were supposed to be on duty did the boneheaded move and left because the sheriff just got killed. And the sister of the main character is on the phone with the killer, and like her boyfriend is there trying to protect the sister, and the killer's like taunting her. It's like, say which one you want me to kill, your sister or your boyfriend. Elevator, and she's like, I'm just buying time. Elevator opens, Dewey comes in saving the day, and fucks up the killer, shoots him a couple times, etc., etc. They're all about to leave and get in the elevator and go away, and then Dewey has the realization, I gotta shoot this motherfucker in the head. And from that minute, the second he's like, no, I gotta finish this, and he gets off the elevator, like, you're dead, dude. This is fucking stupid. And like, he just, everybody else goes down in the elevator, and then he slowly walks, reloads his gun, and walks up to the killer, and then his phone rings, and it's Gale, and he's distracted for a minute, and that's how the killer gets the one up on him, stabs him in the gut, stabs him in the back, rips upwards and downwards, basically completely gutting him, and he dies. And it's like, Dewey, this is your 5th outing, man. You should have fucking known better. You would have known better. Like, no, man.
Yeah.
No. Like,
yeah.
come on.
It's one thing to have a character get got, but it's another to kind of intentionally force them into a situation where they get got. Where you're sitting there like, this doesn't make sense for Dewey. Like, yeah, he's always been a bit of a dumbass, but like not to that level. So you could maybe you can't even chalk it up to be him being rusty, I don't think, right? Like, he's been a retired cop for however many years.
You can't chalk it up to that. No,
like, exactly. Even so, like, he has the forethought to say, I gotta shoot this motherfucker in the head because I remember what happened previously, and then he has to do it point blank. Like, you should reload that gun and be firing the whole time.
Yeah, they avoided following a trope that a lot of things do, where, like, Dewey's arc went through, a point of his relationship with Gale fell through, and he's been let go of the Force, and he's spending his time as just, self-destructive drinker, and a lot of weaker scripts would play that as him having, like, a worthless death wish. And he's not doing that. He still wakes up, to try and do something better. He teams up with these kids to find the killer. He wasn't doing a self-fulfilling prophecy like a lot of weaker scripts would have him do. He went out, trying to get the job done and come back alive. Which, in a way does make it more painful. It does make it a more tragic end to his arc. Yeah. Because I think a lot of weaker scripts would have had him, like, accept a sacrifice to, like, help Gale or something.
No, that would have been awful. But I think you could have still done something like what they ended up doing, where he's still like, no, I gotta I'm gonna finish this kind of thing. But, like, have it be just like the killer gets the upper hand and manages to off him, but the others can get away, kind of thing. Like, not in a he sacrificed them, like, or he sacrificed himself for them because he has a death wish kind of way, but just in a, like, circumstantially he's getting gutted. These guys are running like fucking, fucking cowards because holy shit, the old school sheriff who survived 4 of these fucking movies is now dead.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, he got fucked up and almost killed in Scream 1 and in Scream 2, and it's only revealed in, like, the last 60 seconds before the fucking credits start that he survived both those movies. In fact, apparently, like, from what I read, he was supposed to die in Scream 1, but test audiences liked him so much that they shot additional footage where he survived. And same thing with Scream 2, where it was just like, let's keep him around. So, like, he was on borrowed time for this entire fucking franchise. He
had the Han Solo thing going on.
I am very glad, though, that they didn't do the exceptionally stupid thing that shit rags kept going. It's like, why it makes sense Dewey's the killer? No, it wouldn't make any fucking sense. Eat shit, you're a fucking idiot. No, that is a dumb theory. No. It'd be like if Sydney was the killer. No. Or Gale is the killer. No, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. Come on.
Okay, so before we get into discussion about the killers, because I do want to discuss our feelings on that, because I feel like we all had really, like, a lot of good feelings. I wanted to discuss my one other complaint about the movie. Even though I really liked seeing the actor again, because he's great, he's super fun. I thought it was really cheesy that the main character kept seeing.
Oh God!
Yeah, seeing him in the mirror. What is his name? Why am I forgetting
actor,
his name?
Skeet Ulrich.
The character's Billy Loomis, and the
Skeet Ulrich.
Actor's Skeet Ulrich.
If you can't remember his name, just say not Johnny Depp, because he was cast in Scream. He was cast in Scream specifically because he looked like Johnny Depp as a throwback to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Hell yeah! There you go. Yeah. So, the main character. Minor spoilers, since I think this was revealed, like, pretty early in the movie.
Yeah, about a half hour in.
Yeah. The main character is Billy Loomis's daughter. And she's on a bunch of medication, but occasionally she'll see hallucinations of her dead dad being like, you're a fucking killer, like, haha, like, you know, like,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of like, all right, you know.
It's silly as fuck.
Yeah, especially because I think they, you know, for a Scream movie, they didn't go far enough with it. I wish they had either done more or less, basically.
Yeah, I kind of
Like-
wish they basically did the Dexter shit. Where you make him even more of a character of just like kind of like Harry Morgan throughout like the first few seasons of Dexter.
Yes. If you made him like more of a character that she's kind of always communicating with or always kind of like has in the back of her head, that I would have been fine with. But just the implementation of this here, where he's just like he shows up in mirrors sometimes, is just like really cheesy.
Yeah, especially
I don't think it's subtracted from the movie for me.
She never knew her dad. It's just
Yeah.
when she was like 11, she read her mom's high school journal because her mom kept her high school journal in the attic.
And it was cursed.
And it was spooky cursed, and found out that
Yeah.
her dad is a serial killer because her mom cheated on her boyfriend with Billy Loomis and then got pregnant and then told her boyfriend that it was the boyfriend's baby, and that's why they got married. And then the dad left because he found out that his daughter wasn't his.
Yeah, his first daughter found the diary and was screaming at her mom, and it turned out her dad was like behind a door nearby or something.
Oh god, that was great. Bum, bum, ba-dum.
And it's like, it's my fault dad left. No, it's not your fault. It's your mom's fault for being for being a liar and for fucking cheating.
Yeah, exactly. Not at all your fault.
I think they should have leaned a little bit more into it too, because it would have helped foster the great red herring of initially what did have me going for a bit was I thought that with her having the visions of her father Billy, that she was like subconsciously doing the killings. That she couldn't shake that crazy gene. But it was sort of like a split personality thing, and she didn't know she was doing it. And I think they could have leaned into that even a little harder, just to like foster it as more of a more of a diversion.
On the back of her head.
oh, I can't handle another third act like that.
I know. Oh my god,
I want to see Skeet Ulrich doing John Wick shit.
Oh, that would be awesome. But yeah, like, so let's get into that red herring was fantastic. But let's get into who the real killers are. Because like all of us are very practiced, learned horror enthusiasts. So we're kind of able to pick up. We're kind of able to
kid. And
yeah, of course. We're kind of able to pick up on clues that the movie gives of like who it could be. So I think James accurately predicted that it would be the boyfriend.
Yeah, I was like, he's way too likable for the boyfriend in this in this franchise.
And then I accurately predicted it was going to be the younger sister has a very overprotective best friend who's very like anti her older sister. And I was like, I think it's gonna be her because she's also part of the initial opening scene where she's the one who's getting threatened by Ghostface for while the sister's on the phone with him. And I was kind of like, yeah, it's actually her fake threatening herself. She's calling from her own phone kind of thing. And yeah, turns out that is correct. The two of them are like a couple, and they met on like a internet forum.
They met on Reddit.
Stab.
Yeah, they met on Reddit.
They met on the Stab subreddit. Yes, Stab being the in-universe Scream movies.
Also, can we? Also, it does make Dennis Quaid's kid more of a skeezy scumbag because he's supposed to be older.
Jack Quaid.
Jack Quaid. He's an older character who's dating a high schooler.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's very skeevy. Yeah. Also, like during his kind of like when he's revealed to be the bad guy and just going absolutely ham with that, I was like, yeah, this is great. This is like what Dennis Quaid's kid was made for, kind of thing. Yeah. I love him in The Boys, but he's a very, he's a protagonist, so he's very like milquetoast, like everyman type guy, and I'm like, I need more of you being an insane killer.
I need you to either be more Carl Urban or more insane killer.
There you go.
Like he's fine in The Boys. He's a likable enough guy, but
great.
Like of course he's up against Carl Urban being just a lovable piece of shit.
the whole, like, he is the in The Boys. Sorry, this is a boys podcast now. In The Boys, he's like the anchor for all of the shenanigans that happen around him in terms, like, because all of the other characters are so rich and, like, storied and just have so much going on for them, and he kind of has his one thing, and he's kind of supposed to be the average Joe thrown into this insane world
is he the straight
murderers
man?
hunting.
Yeah.
He's of
Okay.
murderers hunting murderous superheroes. So it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, that's who he's supposed to be. But man, I was like, kid's got range. This is great.
Yeah.
Although I did joke that his death scene reminded me of Talia al Ghul's death scene in Dark Knight Rises. Because he gets his throat slashed, and then, like, there's a brief moment where he just goes, like, and it's just, like, it just looks like when she did the, like, final speech and then went, like, and you're like,
Yeah.
not quite the effect you were going for, I don't think.
That's usually not a good sign when you go, that reminds me of Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, exactly.
I like Dark Knight Rises, man.
I know
love
you
that
do.
I like
fucking
Tom
movie.
Hardy in it.
I love that fucking movie. I don't care. It's got its problems. It's no Dark Knight. It's no Batman Begins.
I was very mad that they moved out of Chicago to Pittsburgh I'm like, no. Nolan's Gotham is Chicago. Come on.
Yeah, that was pretty disappointing. Although it was cute seeing Three River Stadium getting blown up.
I wanted to see them flip. I wanted to see them flip another fucking truck in the middle of Chicago. They actually did that stunt.
Yeah.
I knew people who were extras on that, like, set.
Yeah,
that
was actually
dope.
Well, I remember reading that when Christopher Nolan told the special effects team about that, they were like, "This is impossible. We can't do this. You can't flip a truck that size." And he's like, "No, I think we can." And then they did it.
Then they actually did it on, like, a fucking Chicago street when
Yeah.
people were working. Like, they heard just, like, explosions, and they were like, "What the fuck?" And it's like, oh, Batman's filming.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's
So yeah, and I think the other thing was that we kind of had bandied around, because, again, like, so much of this movie is very meta, and there's a character who is, like, the sort of, like, she's the one who coins the requel sequel type stuff. She does
you've got the
the
person
Randy
who knows
role.
all the verbiage and
Yeah. She is actually, like, related to Randy, right?
Yeah, she's Randy's niece.
Yeah, so it all made perfect sense. It was great. It was wonderful.
And it was darkly morbid too, because, like, she's like a big fan of the movie franchise that is about the real world events involving her uncle's death.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is deliciously morbid. And, like, there's even that great scene where she's watching Stab, and it's showing the scene where Ghostface is sneaking up behind Randy. And she's like, "No, behind you." And, Randy, of course, is watching Halloween and saying, "No, Jamie, behind you." And Ghostface is coming up on her, and she realizes, wait a minute, looks behind us like, oh, shit. Like, she does the thing she's yelling at Randy to do, which Randy was yelling at Laurie to do. And it's like, this is cute.
Exactly.
It's
deliciously meta.
Yeah.
Yeah. We both said deliciously at the same time.
Yes.
That is the perfect way to describe it, though.
Live deliciously. This is a Black Phillip episode now.
There you go. Oh my god. I'm actually hanging up an alt poster of that in my house somewhere, like, as we speak, basically.
I still haven't seen it, and I don't think Daniel's seen it either, but I know Daniel likes it just because it has an evil goat.
Yes. But also, we should watch The Witch then, because holy shit.
Yeah,
I will always be down for more Anya Taylor-Joy.
Hell, fuck yeah. All right, cool. We'll do an Anya Taylor-Joy episode then. Because I haven't seen Last Night in Soho yet, and I really want to.
I haven't seen that either.
I love that fucking woman.
Yeah.
And I like almost everything Edgar Wright has done. I was a bit less into Baby Driver, but yeah, it was still solid.
Yeah. One of the things that we had kind of been briefly discussing before the podcast and also during the movie was we thought it would be really cool if, as a shake-up to the formula, there had been 3 killers for this one, which is kind of where I thought they were going with it for a bit. They sort of also threw another red herring in there for the sister being part of it, the younger sister. And that was actually another thing I had predicted early on. I although it would have been perhaps a little too meta to have the opening scene be the two of them, the protective best friend and the sister, like faking this attempted murder on her, like for basically solely the benefit of the audience.
Yeah.
So
that would be some David Cage Heavy Rain shit with fucking Shelby monologuing to himself about I hope I catch the killer when he's the killer.
Yeah. They would have had to do something to change it up, like maybe make it so that like there are security cameras or something in the house so that like, you know, she's doing this specifically so they have evidence that like, oh, it couldn't have been me. See, I was getting like, why would we set this up that I'm getting attacked?
Yeah.
But because I think one of my other minor complaints is that one of the weaker points of this movie is not necessarily the motivation for the killers, but the how they knew she was Billy Loomis's daughter thing.
Yeah, it's a throwaway line.
Yeah, there's a throwaway line that like, oh, your dad or your mom was a drunk and was talking about it like at a bar and like word spread, like rumor spread. And I was like, no, what if like, you know, the older sister basically like ditched her younger sister at some point for, you know, basically like she got into drugs. She like, you know, she was basically trying to run away from the fact that she's related to a serial killer. And also she didn't want her sister to know. She didn't want her sister to know that like she blames herself for breaking up their family and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. But like, what if the younger sister found out on her own? That would make much more sense for a, you know, like a family secret to be revealed within the family. And then the sister's like, well, now I want revenge on this, you know, like I also blame you for breaking up my family kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it would have been a little too Scream 4 because I think the you know, Sydney's niece is the killer in that, right?
Sydney's cousin.
Sydney's cousin who wants to be the next final girl is the, you know, so maybe that would have been a little too similar. But having it be like basically like you could have set it up where it's two killers and a mastermind who is essentially, you know, like, yeah, I'm like, that could have worked.
You know, that's actually what apparently Scream 3, one of the initial ideas for Scream 3 was going to be, was there was going to be killers, and then the mastermind was actually, the twist would be Stu survived Scream 1 and was orchestrating everything in Scream 3 from prison.
Oh, like law-abiding citizen style?
I think so, yeah. That would have been fucking wild.
That is pretty extreme. Yeah. Like, I think I would have enjoyed that.
I think I would have enjoyed that more than Scream 3.
Than Scream 3, certainly, yeah. But, and also, I mean, who doesn't want more Matthew Lillard?
I need more Matthew Lillard.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I would watch more Matthew Lillard being a crazy serial killer.
Yeah, he's one of the best parts about the first Scream.
Absolutely. He's fantastic.
Obscenely over the top and goofy.
Yeah, he's wonderful in like every movie I've seen him in.
Yeah, even Twin Peaks, where it's like he's just playing a normal fucking Ghosts. Dude.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Yeah, you know, fuck it. Just bring back Matthew Lillard. Why not? Have him as the mastermind.
Why not?
Yeah, that would have been good.
Just do it. Do it, you cowards. We'll buy it.
Yeah, fuck it.
Somebody will be like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. It's like, shut up, it's Scream.
I will make exceptions for allowing Matthew Lillard to continue chewing the scenery.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
When he does that move where he tilts his head just enough in the air and screams and you see the vein in his neck bulge out, I want more of that.
Yeah. Yep. There you go.
It would have been fantastic. I mean, granted, we do like defend silly ass schlock like Malignant.
Mm-hmm.
I love 13 Ghosts.
I mean, it is very cheesy and very. It has a special place in my heart because I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but it was one of the first like R-rated movies I accidentally saw because it was on at my cousin's house during like a holiday party, and so I just like got to watch it, and my parents were like, you know, off getting drunk somewhere with the aunts and uncles, so I was just like, oh cool, I'm just gonna watch this like horribly gory and like a lot of nudity like but it was wonderful. It was like so cheesy and like, yeah, I was just like, yeah, this is great. It's probably what started me on the like I like schlocky B horror movies kick was being exposed to that as my first horror movie experience
It's a
in
good
my
way to
youth.
start.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's deliciously schlocky.
Yeah.
And I
Hell
want
yeah.
more. I want more fun schlock, not leatherfuck.
God damn it.
I will not.
Okay.
So,
Final thoughts for Scream.
Yeah, it's fine.
probably yeah, like one of the better requels of the past decade. Amidst a fucking endless sea of so many of them coming out, this one stands up to the rest of the series, and I think is like firmly middle of the pack. Like, yeah, 1 and 2 are still better, but this is right after it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I agree. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a really refreshing like a refreshing requel to see kind of like, oh, some franchises do still got it. Like, you know, some people still do understand, you know, what made their originals special.
They know what we want. We want
Yes.
the scene where in frame is Sidney Prescott and Gale Weathers, and they just agree like, oh yeah, we're gonna murder teenagers.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is a trap.
Like, oh, we're going to commit murder. Like, it's beautiful.
Fantastic. So good.
So yeah,
All
solid
right.
movie. Go see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how about that other thing?
Yeah, it's all right.
Shall we begin?
All right, let's open Pandora's box here.
Let's
slide
dive
the stone key into place into the imp statue and unlock this gate.
Let's befriend Turtle
All
Pope.
right. All right. Oh, yes. Okay, so let's get started with our, I think James kind of already covered it a little bit for himself at the beginning, but James, why don't you start and like reiterate a little bit? What is your experience with FromSoft in general? What was your experience going into this game? Like, what were your expectations going into this game?
I played Demon's Souls shortly after it came out because I heard it was good, and I hated it, and I rage quit about like 3 hours into the game because I thought this is bullshit. And
I'm sorry, for the sake of the viewers, this is original Demon's Souls.
Original Demon's Souls, PS3. This is back in 2000. Demon's Souls on PS3 came out in 2009, so I played it in like January 2010. And then a couple years later, I was working at GameStop, and Dark Souls came out, and I was like, I bought it on a whim, even though I was like, I know I'm probably not gonna like this because I didn't like Demon's Souls, but fuck it, why not? Yeah, I'm working. I get a discount on it. Sure. I played it, and sure enough, I hate it. And eventually I kind of got to the point, it was like, no, fuck this game. I'm not going to let it beat me.
Yep.
And then somewhere along the way of that first 40 or 50 hour playthrough, plus an additional 8 hours because I played the game and rage quit, I think, at the gargoyles. Like, I just flat out turned off my console and didn't realize that the game was auto-saving at the time, and my save got corrupted, and I had to start all over again, which is great. Somewhere along that journey, I absolutely fell in love with the world and the challenge and the gameplay systems and what they were trying to do. And since then, I've gone through every single one of these games, whatever genre you want to call it, Soulsborne, Souls-like, from whatever the fuck you want to call it. So much so that I eventually went back a few years ago and finally went through OG Demon's Souls and platinumed it 3 times on PlayStation 3 because each SKU on North America, Europe, and Asia has a different trophy list. Because it was released by 3 different publishers, because Sony famously said this game is shit. We're not going to bring it outside of Japan. And then famously Shuhei Yoshida, a couple years after Demon's Souls came out, was like, yeah, I was wrong. My general expectation was, cool, more dank weird, hard bullshit, except for it's kind of in an open world setting, which I was initially apprehensive about, and then I was very happy with, and then minor spoilers for my thoughts kind of got a little tired of, but I still love the game.
Yeah.
Because I don't like open
we'll get
world
into
games
that.
for the most part.
Yeah. We'll get into that in a bit.
But yeah,
Lee, you want to go next?
Yeah.
This is an interesting way to start because my FromSoft history is the opposite end of the gaming spectrum. I was the Armored Core guy.
I did play Armored Core though, like as a kid, but like, yeah.
Yeah, I.
For those of you who don't know, that is their mech game, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. This is their third person mech combat game.
This was their bread and butter for like the better part of like a decade and a half.
Yeah, I didn't try any of the Soulsborne games for a long time. I started with Armored Core 2 back in the day. Silent Line is probably one of my favorite games of all time. Fucking spectacular game.
Project Phantasm slaps too.
Yeah, there's a lot of really strong stuff in the franchise. It had a great comeback with For Answer. You know, I could go on that spiel for a long time. Shout out to Nine Ball Seraph for being an underrated final boss.
Fuck Nine Ball. Fuck Nine Ball and all his fucking incarnations. He's an asshole.
Nine Ball rules. And so yeah, I got around to finally trying Dark Souls. God. I tried renting it back when I had access to a 360 for a while. Because I never was and am not currently a console gamer. Last console I ever owned was a PS2. Everything I do is PC. And so I'm kind of waiting for certain things to get their PC releases to really try them out. So I didn't have a whole lot of exposure early on to the Soulsborne stuff. I'm absolutely fascinated by the lore and atmosphere of Bloodborne, even though I haven't had the ability to get very hands-on with it. So my interests in Elden Ring were oddly enough more driven by just kind of like I don't want to say just the hype machine, but as a gigantic fantasy fan, knowing George Martin had a hand in writing the series, played a big part in getting me interested in it. But I got into the idea of playing the game because of just word of mouth. I didn't have like a big expectation heading up to it. Mostly I just needed these two goons to start playing it first and to tell me like, hey Lee, it's pretty fucking good. And I'll be like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And then I message them like the next day. I'm like, yo, I fucking hate you.
Yeah. You're welcome. We love
so
you.
Yeah, so I was the Armored Core guy. That's my history with them.
Okay. Elden Ring is my first ever FromSoft game.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm like
It's
basically you guys are like the triangle of overlapping kind of like interests in the game, and I had zero interest in anything FromSoft did before this. Well, I shouldn't say zero because like you, Lee, I was really interested in the lore and the world of Bloodborne. I think just aesthetically, it's right up my alley. I adore it. It's just something where I felt like those games were incredibly inaccessible to somebody like me. For mostly personal reasons, and also some. I mean, okay, not to get too deep or personal on this podcast, but I do have some like trauma associated with something that the game like actively encourages, which is the sort of like not just repeated failure, but repeated failure and then making you redo a bunch of things up to the failure point. So that gives me a lot of anxiety and extra stress that then translates into a lot of like anger and just not good. So I knew already going in that like these really aren't games for me. Just I don't derive pleasure from repeatedly beating my head against a wall trying to beat something. like in this way, right? So anyway, all that to say that I had no interest in, I really didn't even have interest in Elden Ring initially. And then I have family in Ukraine, and very specifically during that first week of the invasion happening, we couldn't help them. We could barely get in contact with them. We couldn't send them any money. And I was kind of very desperate to, I wanted to help in some way. And I was like, but what can a dumbass video game person like me do in this situation? And then I was like, oh my god, James would fucking love this if I did a charity stream of Elden Ring, where essentially just like your playthroughs of Balan, where you're playing through something you hate and just like, repeatedly raging at the game. I was like, people are gonna love to spend money to get me to do goofy shit in this game and to rage and to, just be miserable for a week, right? And that's how I can raise money for charity. So yeah, I approached James about it, and James was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And he helped me like get through some of the initial kind of like hurdles of the game, and it was really fun. And then we raised a ton of money for charities too. It was really a really successful campaign. And then afterwards I was kind of like, do I want to even continue playing this game? And I did. And I don't know why. I was just like,
but you're glad you did.
It's because you caught the bug.
I know.
It's the same bug I had in Dark Souls. Yes, you're compelled to keep playing and you don't want it to fucking beat you.
It was genuinely, I did not want the game to beat me. And I I was like, I want to finish this game. And then at a certain point, when I was looking, I started looking at the trophy list. I started looking at what was needed to like complete the game. And I was just like, fuck, I could get this platinum.
Yeah,
too.
I was telling you could get the platinum. And you're like, no, I can't do that. That's too time consuming. It's too hard. And then, I told you could do it.
That's the thing is I'm
never doubt me again.
I didn't doubt you. I doubted my own abilities because I don't think I'm very good at the game.
To get fucking weeby, don't believe in yourself. Believe in the me who believes in you.
There you go. But yeah, I think so my expectation going in was that I was going to just fully hate this game, and there are things I hate about the game, but there's a lot to love, man, and there's a lot of things it does really right, and I'm really excited to get into all that with you guys because I feel like we have a lot of similar sentiments about it and also a lot of different opinions. So I'm like, I'm really pumped. I have a whole list of stuff to talk about. I'm ready. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this conversation because I think it's gonna be like right in that same bloodstream as our Candyman conversation of like, we're all coming from different angles, I think. And there's some juicy shit, but let's start with the non-spoiler stuff because a lot of, at least to me, a lot of the flavor of this game comes from that thrill of discovery.
Yeah.
And less that, like, if there's people listening who have not made the plunge and have not gotten the game yet, I want to be able to convince you to get it.
Yes.
And then be as in the dark as possible and then know when to shut us up.
What I can say as somebody who's played every single one of these particular titles that they've done in this style, it is 100% the most accessible one of these fucking games, and that partially stems from the open world design. Like in the previous games, if you hit a wall, you could backtrack and explore and maybe find another path that you can take because they're very Metroidvania-esque, for lack of a better term, where it's like, if you hit something, you can go off, explore, maybe find something else. And that's amplified here because of the open world. You hit a fucking boss that is just stomping your dick in non-stop, you can go fuck off to like the other end of the goddamn continent and just find dungeon after dungeon and gear after gear and spell after spell of stuff, and then you come back and all of a sudden you're fucking god mode. Because you have a wealth of new experience, you have more stats because you leveled up, you have better gear, you have better spells, etc., etc., etc. And it allows the game, because the fact that they implemented sort of like the stealthy type mechanics from Sekiro, and horseback combat and all this other shit, you have so many different other avenues to approach situations, where it's like in the other games it's like, because they're all linear despite the Metroidvania design of like, funneling you through certain things, you don't have too many avenues to, you have some avenues but not too many to approach different combat situations. Whereas here, like that first major fort on the road to Stormville Castle, you can like, if shit's kicking your ass, you can just back the fuck off. Eventually enemies on aggro, and you enter back into stealth, and then you can kind of sneak around and pick them off, lure them out one by one, make things easier for yourself. So like, if the difficulty is a big hurdle for you to get over, just know that you can, there's a lot of different ways to circumvent difficulty. And also, let me make this abundantly clear, the only people who will call you a scrub or for using quote unquote cheese strats or magic or summons are just a very small handful of elitist assholes who either are brand new to the franchise and don't know better, or are super experts who just kind of have a stick up their ass.
They're the very vocal minority.
Yeah.
You can.
They're the gatekeepers, and just ignore the gatekeepers.
Yeah, the bulk of this community, including most like the Souls YouTubers who do their big lore videos and other stuff, we all just want more people to play these games so we can talk about them and share them and whatnot. Like Vadi Vidya, he has that video. I linked you guys how you can get super overpowered in Elden Ring within your first 2 hours. And he's like, if the difficulty is a hurdle for you, do this and you'll have a much easier fucking time. Like, that's what we want.
Yeah, that's essentially what I like. I was essentially recommended to start with the astrologer. And then I was just like, fuck, I love the casting system. I genuinely really liked it afforded me a lot of extra space to like get away from, I'm not good in up close, like close range combat. So I was just like, cool, I have more of an option. Like later on, I was able to build a character that could just fucking delete bosses. And that felt so good to me. Like, yeah, okay, I didn't spend, 20 hours struggling to like master this like move set against this enemy, but like I still beat him.
Don't listen to the people who like, it's become such a meme in the community, but the whole like get good thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, I got 3 words for you, and it's we take those. If you're doing a boss fight and you cheese him to fall off a cliff, we take those.
That's the thing too, like the whole get good thing, it started not as like a meme or like condescending stuff. Just people would ask in Dark Souls, like, or Demon Souls, oh fuck, I'm struggling with this boss, like, how do I do? What can I do? And people would just sincerely go, you just have to get good. You just have to master the mechanics. Like, just keep practicing. Like, it came from a sincere place of just like, just keep playing, just keep trying, you'll get this. And then it kind of just eventually devolved into memedom and a handful of elitist assholes using it like genuinely. Yeah. And they're like, oh, you used a summon for the boss, you didn't beat it legitimately. Bro, like,
you used that weapon to beat Rom. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
Miyazaki specifically has this summon system in these games because
exactly.
he wanted to recreate a real world experience in the games. If it wasn't intended to beat the boss that way, it wouldn't be in the fucking game.
Literally, one of the pros of this game is that there is such a huge variety of tools that you can in your arsenal. Like, if you start as a mage, you don't have to play magic. You can spec into like anything. Yeah. You can go however you want. You can develop your character however you want. And that's that's brilliant. You're never limited in that way.
Nothing
That's
forces
brilliant.
you. There's nothing in the game that forces you to use summons. There's nothing in the game that forces you to not use summons. If you want to go everything solo, like I did for the most part, do it. But
but they clearly crafted these systems into the game. Like if they did, if magic is a not legit way to play and the easy cheese strat, then why did they put it in the game? You know, like it's just like
it's
you guys can be elitist assholes all you want, but like I'm going to use if you know, like they made that magic system so fun to me. And I'm gonna play a thing I find fun.
That's one of the things that like me and a lot of other people keep pointing out when people go like, "Oh, like Elden Ring needs a difficulty mode." There's ways to make the game easier. Summons and ashes of war
go somewhere else
and spirits and magic.
Although I will say that summons are definitely I think probably the easiest way to play, in my opinion, and how I've seen it is co-op with people.
Co-op makes the game a lot more bearable and easier.
It's not only is it bearable and easier, but it's more fun because you're able to sit there and like strategize with your friends and be like, oh, I need you to draw aggro, I'm gonna die, or like, you know, all of this kind of stuff. I have gone through several boss fights with just me and my summons. And the AI is awful. It is truly atrocious, where oftentimes it does literally feel like I am flipping a coin as to whether or not it will be helpful or whether it will stand there and sit in Dragonfire for 20 minutes until it just gets one shot.
I am a big fan of the summon system because I insist on playing the game solo. I don't use co-op help, and that's just my own hangups. But so like, you know, there's this guy. His name is Banished Knight Oleg.
Yeah.
And he's my boy. He's really good when you get him. He's a little overpowered for the early game. But then he develops this bad habit sometimes of I summon him into a fight and then he just decides like, oh, I need to go grab some smokes, and he just leaves.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah.
Yep.
So the summon system can be a little unreliable.
I had my Mimic get summoned for, I was just trying to get through a tough area of leading up to it was one of the underground areas. I won't spoil it right now, but I had him summoned, and specifically we were fighting enemies that had bleed damage magic, and one of them spit out a big puddle of bleed damage before it died, and instead of getting the fuck out of the puddle like, you know, something intelligent would do,
your summon started rolling in it.
No, my Mimic took out his sword and started slashing at the ground because the ground was hurting him and therefore it needed to die. And I was just like, I just sat there and watched it. I'm like, you fucking dumbass. Like, so, yeah, the AI is a little rough. I had a really great fight with with a very late game dragon boss, James. I think you know who I'm talking about. And it ended up just being me and my summons. And yeah, that thing so many times would just stand in the dragon's AoE attacks and not roll out of the way, not dodge out of the way. And I'm just like, man, like, if this were a person, this would be so much easier. But yeah.
Yeah, and there's nothing forcing you to do anything. You could just do the game how you want to do it.
Yes.
Like, similar to Lee, I do a lot of these games solo, mostly because of the fact that I don't want to get invaded, and doing co-op tends to run the risk of getting invaded.
Yeah.
Or just I want to focus on just exploring the world at my own pace, and I don't necessarily like, you know, what. But I if I need help, I'll summon somebody or whatever. Or if I feel like dicking around, I'll summon somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Like you know, like there were a couple late game bosses where I always try a boss fight by myself first, basically, because I'm just like, hey, I want to just see if I can do it. And a lot of times I can do it solo. It's just sometimes if I've tried, you know, 5 to 10 times at this point, and I'm like, okay, I get what I have to do, but I feel like, you know, like I understand, I've figured out the boss strategy, and I don't want to sit there and struggle against it for a long time. Mm-hmm. So somebody come in here and be smarter, like be a smarter version of my AI summons, basically. And that has helped me a lot, where it's just like, or, you know, like for some of the field bosses that you run into, sometimes it's nice to have a summons where the summons can just fucking Leroy Jenkins in there and die, and then you just kind of like go stealth again, and you're like, okay, well, the boss is at half health now. I'll just resummon you again, and like we'll try this shit again, right?
Yeah, like that
where you're just
dragon.
like you're doing like chip damage. Yeah, like the dragon. Yeah, it's chip damage where it's like, okay, this works. It's maybe not like, oh, like you didn't beat it in one go. It's not the most legit strategy, but like, fuck you, it's a strategy. I did it.
If the boss is dead, it's a legit strategy.
Exactly.
We take those.
Like, exactly.
Yeah, it's again, like most of the community, it's just beat the game however you want to play it. Play it how you want to play it. Because there's so many misconceptions about this franchise, and the handful of elitist gatekeeping assholes don't help anything. And it's just two small groups of people, the people who are whining about how you play the game, and then the people who are whining that the game doesn't have difficulty selection, and that the difficulty can't necessarily be an artistic state. Yelling at each other nonstop. And it's just like, if the game's not for you, cool. If you want to explore the, check out the game, great. Give it a go, and play it however you want to play it.
Try to ignore the super toxic discourse, because that was initially a major turnoff for me as well. And basically it was down to a handful of friends who are big Dark Souls, Bloodborne people, like James being a big example, and then my buddy Ethan, both being like incredibly encouraging and helpful. So like, I would definitely recommend like finding a community or finding people that are willing to help if you're like me and you're brand new and you're just kind of like, I really want to try this, but I'm not confident in my skills, or I'm just not, like I would struggle too much with this and hate it. Like there are like, if I can find two people who don't even know each other who were both like, yeah, like you can fucking do this, like you can too. So that's my final thing, I think, before we start getting into spoilers, because I really want to get into like the meat of this conversation. Do you guys have anything else that you want to tell people before we start? Like I think we've done a good job of convincing them.
Try finger butthole. You don't have the right. Oh, you don't have the right. Oh, you don't have the right. Oh, you don't have the right.
The other thing is that like even if you do decide to go it alone, there's so much help from the community in that like you will just find little messages everywhere saying like, hey, there's a thing ahead, or like there's an item here. And sometimes you get troll messages too, but like,
especially about fucking illusory walls.
Especially about hidden paths.
So mad.
Oh boy.
How long it took me to find a goddamn illusory wall.
Yeah.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad.
Yep.
But
we can
actually, I found one before you did.
You
I remember, and I was just like, what?
Because I was supposed to go to Rylakari, and I'm like, oh fuck that, I'm gonna go exploring. And then you went to Rylakari, and we're like, oh hey, I found one.
All magic shit. Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
I would say we can go into spoiler territory. Kind of just my final spoiler-free thoughts. Again, like there's a lot of detail I want to go into, but it's just better left for this next portion.
Sure.
If this is your first FromSoft game, this is an absolutely perfect jumping off point.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best place to start. This is the best time, and the community around this game is, for 95%, fucking wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great time to get involved and really like sink your teeth into this game. And then, if you like it and it's your thing, then you can backtrack and try the more, sadistic ones.
Yeah. And if you're a particularly crazy person like myself, you can even go back and check out the games that From Software made years and years ago that inspired this.
Kingsfield.
Which Kingsfield doesn't fuck around, man. Kingsfield. But it's Kings, especially because of the fact that, like, if we want to talk about aged games, Kingsfield is a first-person game on the PlayStation 1 that came out before the DualShock was a thing. So you have to strafe and look and like look up and down via the triggers on the PlayStation 1 controller.
Hell yeah.
So it is archaic as fuck.
Jam, you You're a brave man. You're a brave boy.
And hey, guess what? Kingsfield, Kingsfield US, which is actually Kingsfield 2.
Did you platinum that?
Well, there's no trophies because it's PS1, but I
Oh.
did, I did 100% beat it.
You
He spiritually planned.
He spiritually platinumed. Wow, damn.
I fucking adore that particular game. Like, if you can get past the controls and the fact that because it's a super early game, there's no checkpoints, so it's like you have to like manually save, and like if you don't, you're just immediately kicked back to the very start of the game.
Oh, fuck that.
It's
Damn.
so it's like, yeah, you just find a save point and try not to die, and yeah, it's good. But yeah, it's Elden Ring, non-spoilers. I like Elden Ring, but not as much as Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and Bloodborne. And
it's got the casual appeal in a good way. Like a great example is my wife. Her favorite franchise is Legend of Zelda. Her favorite game of all time is Breath of the Wild.
Hell yeah.
And there's a lot of aspects about this that are hitting that same like the same buttons.
Yes.
She's like, hey, can I roll a character? And I'm like, I salivate at the idea of watching you play Elden Ring.
Oh, that would be so cute.
Go.
Especially if you kind of, can come in and co-op with her too. Like, I'm sure she would appreciate that. Like,
well, we've only got one rig that'll run it, so
oh shit,
I'll be there. I'll be there for the spiritual advice.
Yeah. I mean, that is also a huge help.
But I'll be just as worthless as a lot of the notes left on the ground.
Keep telling her to try
she loses 20 times to Margaret the Fell and goes like, "What do I do?" And I just try finger butthole. Lee, help me.
Lee, no.
Yeah, just she sees a cliff and just go, "Hey, honey, try jumping."
Yeah.
Try jumping.
Yeah.
Suddenly dung.
God damn it. God, yeah, that's so actually, yeah, like you mentioning Breath of the Wild made me remember too. My one final thought from me as well. I think I do play a lot of open world games. I not really necessarily I'm not like a huge fan of open world games. I think there's a lot of issues with that particular genre. But just a lot of the games that I end up like playing end up being having kind of an open world vibe to them. Very much a lot of the exploration in this game hits the same notes that Death Stranding, Breath of the Wild, and a couple of other open world games have hit for me, where it's just like I just want to kind of like zone out and just go in a direction and just see what's there.
Yeah, it was definitely scratching that itch for me, like in the same way that Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk did.
Yes. Yeah.
Just like, I just want to roam around here a while.
Yes. I haven't played either of those, but yeah, so that is and actually okay, so this is actually probably a really good segue into spoiler stuff.
Beautiful.
Because I wanted to talk a little bit about like my sort of love-hate relationship with the game. And like initially it was much more on the hate side or on the dislike side. And I had, this is all recorded on my channel because I talked about this a little bit while I was playing it, where there were a lot of things I didn't understand in terms of the appeal for this game.
I haven't even considered that. I can go to your channel and watch your playthrough now.
Yeah, you can. There you go. But there were a lot of things that people were pointing out as like I think maybe I don't want to say they were necessarily less experienced players. I think maybe they might have had less experience with open world games. But in general, there were things people were pointing out as like oh my God, it's so amazing that Elden Ring did this. And I'm like, that's kind of a staple of the open world genre. Like they're not reinventing the wheel here. This is very much, like a thing that I've experienced in countless open world games. So I'm like, I don't see why that's suddenly so appealing just because it's got a FromSoft coat of paint on it, right?
I'm curious which aspects in particular, because I agree with you. They didn't do anything to like really
it was
innovate a whole hell of a lot, but I'm curious which talking points were brought up. It
was a lot of people were saying, oh, I don't want to, specifically I think in relation to Horizon, because Horizon had the unfortunate timing of coming out like a week before Elden Ring came out, and I think
the first Horizon had the unfortunate
first one with Breath of the Wild.
Yep. Yes. So Horizon has had really terrible luck in terms of their release date. But a lot of people were kind of like saying, I don't want to play Horizon because I already know what that open world is going to look like. It's going to have a snow level, it's going to have a desert level, it's going to have a jungle level. And I'm kind of like, so does Elden Ring, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, but Elden Ring also has the Lake of Rot.
Yes,
I
you're
mean,
right.
for me speaking, I don't want to play Horizon
then,
because
like,
characters
people
don't shut
were-
the fuck up.
Yeah, sure.
That's my main thing.
Yeah,
I hate
I'm
the
still-
cacophony of dialogue.
I am still going to get the Horizon plat. I'm like halfway through it right now, so I'm like,
Oh, nice.
and I've been enjoying it for what it is. It does have a lot of the same problems I had with the first game, but like, to me that is my podcast game. That is my I turn on a podcast and I just kind of like go and explore the world. I have it cranked down to easy, so it's not very challenging. I'm kind of just like going through and doing the like collectathon stuff or like exploring, and I'm not limited in any way in terms of difficulty. It's my video games and chill game. Yeah. Whereas Elden Ring was like, oh my god, I need to focus up. I like need to be constantly on for the game.
See, that's I guess the one difference between you and me is Elden Ring is my chill game of just
sure
just venturing off and doing nothing.
It kind of became that toward the end, which I think we'll get into when we talk about our likes and dislikes. But the other thing people were kind of talking like Elden Ring sort of invented that sort of Metroidvania level design style in an open world where it's like, oh, you kind of like, you go to an area and the area kind of like loops in around itself, or there's multiple pathways to get in, or like you see something in the distance and you can get to it if you figure out this secret path. And I'm like, open world games have kind of been doing that forever.
No,
I remember Skyrim doing that.
That element was a lot more impressive in Dark Souls and the previous FromSoft games, because a lot of the linear games
in Dark Souls.
A lot of the games where it's like you play a more linear game and you see something in the skybox, it's just there to look pretty. It's just there to be like, oh cool, there's that tower in the distance, but you never go to that tower. Whereas in like Dark Souls 1, for just as an example, there's towards the start of the game, you get to the top of this chapel, which is where your first major objective, this belfry. And if you look down from that belfry, you'll sort of see this chasm with like it looks like there's some fucked up shit down there. That's actually an area you go to later on in the game, and you can actually see the thing there. And it's like, that's super cool. And like,
and like that is great, especially for a like not an open world game.
Yeah.
But open world games have been doing that forever. In fact, it was like a selling point that a lot of open world games would use in their like, like their big pitches where they're like, oh, you see that mountain in the distance? Yeah, that's not just like set dressing. You can climb that mountain. Like anything you can see, you can interact with. And it's just like, that's kind of the appeal of open world. So I'm like, that's not the thing that makes Elden Ring unique here.
Yeah, like the one thing I can say where that still applies somewhat for me is in the legacy dungeon type stuff, where I find little unique pathways, like through Stormville Castle, like that little side secret path I showed you at, where it's like there's like archway or whatever, and it's like you jump there and there's like, oh hey, there's this pathway that leads to this underground chasm thing where there's this fucking awful tree spirit that I fucking hate.
Oh my god. Let's not talk about that yet.
Yeah, but like
we'll get there.
We'll get there.
The intricacies of the legacy dungeons and how they're Metroidvania, that clicks all boxes for me, just because I like Metroidvania type stuff.
Yes, I think a lot of the big, a lot of the legacy dungeons, which I didn't even know that's what they were called until yesterday. A lot of the legacy dungeons do have fantastic design, and that's very clearly reminiscent of their previous games, where that essentially is the level, is the legacy dungeon, right? But I think in general, it's kind of like the open world having those elements. That's just a common element of open world games. So that to me was not impressive, and I was kind of like, why are you being so impressed by this? Like, I get it. It's a very cool game now. Now I understand, but I'm also just kind of So, I guess maybe we should kind of start. I made myself a list of my likes and dislikes because because I really wanted to like I wanted to make sure I hit all of the points I wanted to hit in this discussion. I have a lot of I have a lot of things I really like about this game. I think it does a lot of things really well, and I think it does a lot of things poorly. And I wanted to address kind of all of that. But let's start with the like train, I think.
Sure.
And so actually, or do we want to start with likes or dislikes, or do we want to get no, let's start with that. Okay. So the first thing I wanted to say that I liked, which can kind of get more into like what we've been talking about, is the exploration. I think that was like the biggest thing for me, was that it was just this, like, I think not even necessarily more so than any other open world, because a lot of open worlds do this, where they, they have little things hidden here and there, little unique moments. I think this game just did that really well. Like, I don't think it reinvented the wheel. I don't think it did anything that like Horizon is not also doing, or Breath of the Wild didn't also do, or Skyrim didn't do, or any of that stuff. But I just think that it did it in a really compelling way for within the game, right? Like I liked turning a corner and running into a boss, or like running into a random mob, or seeing a little shiny in the distance, and it was really really cool.
My favorite time to be a player of this game was when the group of Let's Players that I watch were all going through it at the same time. And just hearing the differences in what they had seen in the first major area at Limgrave told me why I like the amount of content that they've squeezed into this world. Of like, they're both like 20 or 30 hours in. And then, someone will just bring up, oh, did you see the wolf guy? And two others go, what fucking wolf guy? And that, like, and there's a whole separate thing. And Blythe have a whole massive story.
Did you see the sky wolves?
Everyone saw the sky wolves. Damn it, Jam.
You can bypass the sky wolves.
That's true. That's true.
I absolutely love that. Like, there's just like so many little weird open world instances and things that just you come across that you can tell somebody something and it could sound like complete bullshit, but it's probably true. Like James had my favorite where I'm like, yeah, I'm in like this new area now, which was the swamps around Raya Lucaria, and James just kind of like threw under the radar. Oh yeah, great zone. Have fun. Watch out for the building that has the sky shoot lasers at you. I'm like, what?
Yep.
And then didn't say anything further. And then sure enough, 2 days later, I'm playing and the sky starts shooting laser beams at me.
See, that is kind of what I'm talking about when it comes to like spoilers for this game. Because James would also drop some of that stuff where it's like, oh, like, yeah, watch out for this thing. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? And then, like, hours later, I'd be like, that's what he was talking about.
Yeah,
and
like, hey,
it didn't detract.
Check out the new emoji I've got on the Discord channel, and it's a turtle wearing a Pope hat. And I'm going, where is this going? And then I find the turtle Pope.
Yeah, on that note, like, Emu and I were shooting the shit in the Lose Discord. And I go, I need to find. This is before I found him. I was like, I need to find Turtle Pope.
because I found him before you, and I said, "Have you met Turtle Pope yet?" And you're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, and I was like, I need to find Turtle Pope, and Lou's like, a what? And Emu had already met Turtle Pope, and he's like, oh yeah, Turtle Pope's pretty cool. I was like, I did find Jarman. Jarman's pretty neat. And Lou's just like, are y'all being serious?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Are you guys being serious? And then I drop a photo of Turtle Pope, and I drop a photo of Jarman. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's like, no, it's you can say shit, and it sounds fucking weird. And that's because it is weird, but it happens in the fucking game. The sky tries to fucking kill you. Wolves fall from the fucking sky.
Krista happened to be in the room when I came across Alexander in Mount Gelmir when he's tempering himself in the lava.
That's super cool. Sorry, go on. I'm putting a pin on this because I want to talk about that in a second.
Okay, and just like she's seen me like dungeon crawling and like fighting monsters and casting spells, and then she just happens to be watching when I'm talking to a giant sentient jar who's meditating in a sea of lava, going, "Yes, I must become harder." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's totally on brand. That's my boy Alexander."
Yeah. Or I remember when
Absolutely.
I mentioned to Kat, it's like, oh, I found Snake Girl, and she's like, oh, you're talking about the devouring serpent? It's like, no, talking about
No,
Snake Girl.
I also found Snake Girl later, but
Fuck Snake Girl.
So on this note of finding NPCs in the world and stuff like that, I think that is a really good segue to. I know I said I wanted to do mostly likes at this point, but I want to talk about something I'm very.
I know which way we're going.
Yeah, I'm personally very torn on it because on the one hand, I do really like that a huge part of the exploration is that you are not spoon-fed a story.
Yeah.
Like you don't have a narrative kind of like hanging over your head really. Like there's not a whole lot of like lore being dumped at you unless you actually go seek it out, which is cool, and it really lends to this kind of like sense of community of like, oh, like I can talk to my friends about this stuff, and like some of them know what I'm talking about and others are like, what are you talking? And then
Yeah.
they also like everyone has kind of a unique experience with the story in that regard. However, I think like the game I think really gives you a lot of freedom in terms of how you experience it. You can go anywhere and do anything. And that I think it really gets that right. Like that is a thing a lot of open worlds kind of like advertise as just like, yeah, you can go wherever, but usually there's a big through line story that like gates off certain areas and does all this, but you're like never gated from anything.
No, there's like
basically.
3 hub things you have to hit, and like that's the only thing I
But,
would
like, even then you can bypass like there's apparently like a secret route into like one of the second hubs, and like there's another secret like teleporter to another place.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I discovered on my PS4 playthrough, for example, was the entire time on my PS5 playthrough, I wanted to get to Atlas Plateau.
Yep,
so
that's the secret route I was talking about.
Yeah, so I could like fucking get some bell bearings and some gear that was up there.
Yes.
And I was like, but I don't want to get like these medallions because I know I got to progress for them. And then
there's a tunnel for that.
Turns out there's a tunnel, or like that one path that I discovered before I even went through Stormvale that took me straight to fucking the lake section without having to go through the entirety of Stormvale.
Yeah, like it took me forever to explore Caelid, but once I did, I really liked how everything was kind of networked. But anyway, I'm sorry,
call it by its real name, Florida.
Florida, yes. This is getting slightly off my point, though, real quick.
I think the only place that's gated off is just the mountaintop. That's it.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. But and even that is like you get there eventually, and once you get to a certain anyway. Well, and some of the final areas are gated by progression.
Like Farum is gated,
Farum is gated and a couple other spaces. But anyway, so I thought that the freedom to explore and experience the game in any order was just like that to me is the thing that should be most impressive to people, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
However, a lot of the narrative of the game, and I don't necessarily mean like the main story, but like the basically like taking Melina to the forge, like that main story. A lot of the NPC side quests, a lot of the sort of like extra like lore that you can get, which is all it's kind of hidden, it's like interconnected. You interact with these NPCs, but there's not necessarily an obvious like thing to do next all the time. Sometimes they will tell you, hey, I need you to go do this thing, but other times they don't. They just say like, I need X, and you're like, okay, I need to go find X. I have no idea where X is. I'm gonna go explore. However, a lot of that narrative is tied to very specific actions with limited time frames, missing which results in the player losing huge chunks of narrative or lore.
Yep.
No, and it's not in so much as like, oh, the story changes if you don't do it in this time frame. The story will just end. And that to me, the sort of like invisible clocks where as soon as you trigger something with an NPC, a clock starts, and if you don't do a thing within that time window, the NPC dies off screen, or you know, the story just says you can't complete me anymore, and small windows for side quests / story progression. I think those two things are antithetical to the free reign imposed by the open world structure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And to me, that's not seen in a better situation than very early on with Rajay.
Rajay is a great example. Yes.
I was so pissed off by the way that progressed, because I found him early on in the chapel in Stormvale. And he's all like, hey, let's go do the thing. I'm like, yeah, bro, we fought Margaret the Fell together. Awesome. And then suddenly he's got tree cancer. And I'm like, wait, what happened? And then I did some looking up, and it's like, oh, no, before you got to, you know, to Ronnie, you had to go underneath Stormvale to this area that you didn't know existed to fight a boss that was outside of your current level range for that time to then get, you know, Rajay's quest line properly kickstarted. So sorry, he's got tree cancer and he's dead now. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a similar experience, although I think mine might have partially been a bug, but I don't know, because again, a lot of this game is kind of, it's intentionally mysterious, but that also means that a lot of times
it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yeah, exactly. You're not really sure if like, was this supposed to happen this way or not? So with Latenna, the Albanuric that you find, there's a girl with a dying wolf that you find. She's lamenting that she's lost her medallion. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go find one of the medallion halves. And after you find the medallion half, you go back to her and you exhaust all her dialogue, and she will say, I'm going to come with you. And she becomes a spirit ash. And then on your way to the next one, she'll talk to you a little bit to find the next, the second half of the medallion. She'll talk to you a little bit. You get that, you get that second medallion, and then you're able to go to this new secret area where you take her to a church. And then the end of her thing is she gives you a somber ancient dragon smithing stone, one of the rarest drops in the game. It's like a very nice reward for completing that quest. So I was like, and it's also a fairly easy way to get that quest. So I was like, cool, I will do that. I ended up looking this up because I was like, I don't really want to miss side content anymore because of the Rajay thing. I went and talked to her after I got the first half of the medallion, and I exhausted her dialogue multiple times. She didn't do anything. And I was like, okay, I must be missing something. So I went off to go do other things to try to figure out what I have to do. And I would come back every so often just to check on her to see if maybe I had more progress. Nothing. She had one line of dialogue she would just repeat to me every time I talked to her. She never progressed her dialogue to, I will become a spirit ash and follow you. So I went and got the second medallion because I thought, okay, maybe I need to get the second medallion. Maybe that's how I get her. And apparently doing that just ended the quest.
Yeah, that was a bug. She should have turned into an ash.
Yeah, she died off screen for me, and I could pick up her ash that way. But then, I could never actually complete her quest.
Yeah, I think that's a bug.
Yeah, I think so too. But it's kind of a minor gripe because the only thing I really lost out on was a crafting material. But at the same time, I'm like, I would have wanted to see what she had to say later. I was specifically attempting to do that. And the game just kind of... So I actually never progressed Alexander the Jar's quest line because of that as well.
I completely forgot to complete his quest. I didn't even know Roger had a quest until you guys just mentioned it.
And his is super important for lore.
I missed also, and because of the fact that I cleared through Farah Missoula, I'm locked out of one of the variant endings because of that. The one involving T-Pose Man. I don't know if you ran into T-Pose Man.
Gold Mask. Yes,
Gold Mask, yes. Yeah. I can't get his ending and his equipment because I didn't complete that quest before Farum.
I got his ending, and we'll talk briefly about the endings. I don't want to spoil anything for Lee. I found his ending very underwhelming, so I don't think you're missing much.
Yeah, but, it's mostly for gear. That's all I care about. Gear and
for gear.
Yeah, his armor, because
he drops,
I get to wear.
Yes,
I get to be a slut.
That is what I sent you guys in the Discord, is his armor that he drops at the end of the quest line.
And I lost the option to get a T-pose emote. I want to be able to T-pose on fools.
I can T-pose on fools. I'm a slutty pyramid head now when I don't, when I want to just meme instead of actually being helpful as a summons.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like how in Dark Souls I would just strip off all my clothing and just wear I would wear the super fat armor, like chest piece, but no pants, and then have like either a burlap sack as my headpiece or the mask of a child, so it was like this baby face. So it's just like this
James.
obese
What
fat
fucking
armor.
evil within villain are you?
And I just I'd invade people with like dual shields. So it was like the most useless fucking build. I want a couple of PvP duels that way. I don't know how. I was like, dude, I've got dual shields. These are not meant for attacking. What the fuck are you doing? Or whips, because in Dark Souls 1, whips are fucking useless. Dual whips are even more useless.
I picked up a whip early in Elden Ring, and my buddy Ethan was like, "Please don't use a whip. Like they're so fucking use. They're actually not bad in Elden Ring."
No, they've got.
Oh
like,
yeah, no, I like the
too
one
bad.
that Dialos's brother drops.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't have the faith to use it, but like.
Yeah, they used to be terrible, but they've
God, put your faith in God.
Yeah. Yeah, so
But yeah, the whole quest progression thing, the way the storylines can just drop out is it's really frustrating.
Yeah. Because and especially since like I like not to harp too much on other open world games, but like Skyrim has, a lot of side quests, right? A lot of side content, and it's usually pretty easy to keep track of. But if you like, I don't think they usually do any sort of like ticking clock elements. But if you do something like in another quest line that basically like nullify, like there's that whole Civil War quest, right? Where like the result of which can like greatly impact other quest lines. But it's usually not that the quest line are just like cut off completely, like unless you kill the NPC. Like I remember there was only one big quest line that got cut off, like that could get cut off really early, and it was like the cannibal one, where it's like if you don't go to this cave with this specific item, then the cannibals will just be hostile and attack you, and you can't do their quest. But like, that's one very minor section, and it's not like important for like trophy stuff or anything like that. But yeah, like very rarely in those games is it just like, well, you missed the window for this particular NPC to be alive, so he's dead now. But yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating when that happens and you wind up getting locked out of content, especially like in some of the older FromSoft games that like I'm talking like Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1. Some of the rewards could potentially be somewhat trophy related, so that's one of the reasons why I was kind of, I guess, grateful that when I did finally go through them, I kind of used the wiki to make sure I did whatever trophies that I could. But like,
I very much wanted for my initial playthrough of Elden Ring, I was like, I want to be blind to everything, I just want to play it. And then at a certain point I was like, no, but I want the content. And because of the way this content, like the content delivery is structured, where it's these very specific timings. As soon as Regier died, I was just like, and I found out he had a whole quest associated with him that I missed. I was like, okay, I think I need to be tracking this more carefully. I think I need to actually have an outside source. Which frustrated me a little bit, because I was kind of like, I want to be able to experience this game freeform, because that's the structure of it makes me want to experience it freeform, but then the structure of the narrative is and I don't necessarily think this is 100% an Elden Ring problem. I think a lot of open world games like have difficulty structuring their narrative to flow, cohesively in an open world, because so much of it is, okay, if the player can go anywhere and do anything, what is compelling them to do the main quest? Right? Like, if you make it too, like, oh my god, you have to save the world, then it's like, why are they spending 20 minutes collecting pigeons if, like, the world's gonna end? Like, there's no ticking time element, but, like, there's this, huge obligation hanging over your head, but you're just running around doing side quests. That's kind of weird.
Very few games sort of do an answer to that. But, Nier
but then the opposite, where, like, you don't have a super compelling thing and you kind of just allow people to free roam, then it's kind of like, okay, well, what's my drive to keep playing this game even?
Like Nier Automata, I think, is the only game that I can think of in recent memory that actually has that. where and it just always leads to a joke ending in most instances. Like you'll get like, oh no, the village is getting attacked by whatever, and then if you go off in the other direction to like fuck off and like fuck that, I'm gonna go do some side quests, the game fades to black and it's like, yeah, the village was destroyed, and then it does a fast forward credit sequence. You got ending X of the alphabet, and then you click the main menu, and you just load back in, and just it's like, no, okay, go do the fucking thing, because the village is gonna get destroyed or whatever.
Well, I mean, and also like to that. Speaking of like joke endings, I do really like the Far Cry 4 method of like, like, oh, if you just wait in the opening opening cinematic or opening like level, if you just wait for the villain to come back, you just game over. Like there is no reason for you to like be here and like stage a coup.
Yeah,
so
honestly,
you did it.
I think the better ending. You immediately complete your objective, and then it's like, yeah, you didn't overthrow a tyrannical despot, but the tyrannical despot doesn't have any ill will towards you, and I think the rebel leaders are kind of unlikable assholes anyway, so it's like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah, so it's just like, yep, all right, now I'm flying home.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Mom.
To circle back to like a like thing, like one of the things that I do.
Let's go back to the likes.
One of the things I do appreciate about the story is although it is definitely more vague here than in Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls, is again that mysterious nature of the narrative, like of you piecing things together to an extent, and like there's lore and like the item descriptions and through NPCs and whatnot, and like I mentioned how the multiplayer stems from like like Miyazaki's real life experience, and that's also why he does his narrative structures the way he does. Because when he was a child, he's a big fucking fantasy nerd, right? And he got access to a bunch of Western fantasy books, but English is not his first language, so he would have to, while reading, fill in the blanks. Because, like, I don't understand this word, I don't understand this sentence, etc., etc. And he wanted to recreate that sort of broken story sort of thing, and
piecing it together yourself. And it's definitely
not for everybody, especially because like it can be frustrating, especially with like how NPC progression goes. And I think that definitely needs to get adjusted, since it can be it's more
that I think, like, because I actually didn't know that backstory to it. I know you told me about the backstory to why he does the co-op stuff, which is, I think, very similar to like Journey's entire theme. So all that being said, I think that the piecing together the narrative doesn't bother me so much as the losing entire chunks of it if you don't piece it together in the right time frame. It would be like if while he was reading and he messed something, or he couldn't figure out a word and had to fill in the blanks, somebody ripped the page out and was like, nope, you took 2 seconds too long, no more of this page for you.
I do.
I think this is more about like the
sort of thing, but I'm just talking about like the broad strokes of the narrative sort of thing.
Sure.
Or like the inherent bits of little flavor hidden in there, like, discovering, like, I play a faith character, and as you start to uncover more incantations and things, by talking to members of the round table, you quickly find out that things like pyromancy are straight up blasphemy. Like, this is bad magic. This is not what we do. And so you start to piece together things like when you're walking around areas and you see groups of pyromancers. Like, oh, okay, let me, collect their shit. And all of their items will have specific bits of like how they turned against the will of the Erd tree and the words of the two fingers. And then like ultimately leading towards the dude who literally lives in the middle of fire being the ultimate blasphemer, Praetor Rickard. It's like, oh, this all comes together super well and very well laid out. And I only really know about this by like reading the item descriptions.
Yes. And like I'm fine with that. It's just when like if basically like it was kind of all leading up to Rykard, but then it was like, if you don't piece this together, in X amount of time, you don't even get to deal with this boss. And it's like,
No,
that
I'm
would've
saying
been very
they're two
lonely.
separate things entirely.
Yes,
There's
exactly.
the flavor hidden in the
Yes.
lore bits and descriptions, and the quest line issue, which are apples and oranges.
Yes. And I really loved the sorcery school stuff. Like, similar to you doing a faith build and kind of uncovering all of the like incantation, kind of like what's good and what's bad. The sorcery stuff is fucked up, and it's so cool.
Yeah,
was just
isn't there like I'm still piecing it together myself, but there's issues between the royalty of Caria and the Academy of Rhea Lucaria.
And also like there are wizards who were kicked out of the school because
Like Selen.
Selen's quest is probably one of my favorites. And it also it ends the worst. But by the worst, I mean it's fucking awesome, but I hate it. Like I don't know how far you've gotten in her quest line.
Don't totally spoil it, because oddly enough, the mission I was doing before hopping on the podcast is I'm wrapping up her quest line.
Okay, cool.
I think I'm just about at the point where I need to deal with the witch hunter.
Yes. Okay, yeah, you're right there then. So I won't spoil it, but like,
okay.
I was like, oh man, like it really got. So yeah, that was another thing I really liked is despite the fact that I do feel like sometimes having the narrative be so like hidden and so kind of like obscured, I think that kind of impacts your well, okay, I shouldn't say it impacted my like attachment to the NPCs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're Melina, the spirit girl. She's supposed to be a big driving force for the plot, but you only talk to her like 5 or 6 times.
That's one thing I can get into.
She's largely absent for the.
She doesn't have as much presence as a lot of the other previous FromSoft maidens. Where even if say in Demon Souls, the Maiden in Black doesn't have necessarily anything new to say, or the doll in Bloodborne doesn't have anything necessarily new to say. Yeah, they're always present in the hub. They're the ones they're the ones you directly level up from, right? So it's like they're always there. Whereas Melina, I like what's there, but I want a lot more of it.
Yeah, I kind of wish she was just always at grace points. Like that was how you leveled. Like if you were leveling up, you had to talk to her. Like I think that would have solved my issue a little bit if she was just always there. She also just
she doesn't need to haunt you. She doesn't need to always be floating around like Johnny Silverhand in Cyberpunk.
No, she can
or like Navi.
Well, the best way I can put it, because I've been wanting to talk about Melina. So the point in the major narrative that I'm at is I've just reached the mountaintop of the giants, and I'm taking her to the forge. That's where I'm at right now. So I'm sure we're about to like wrap up a big chunk of her story. This game is, I feel like it's trying so hard to make me give a shit about her.
Yes.
And I don't care.
Same.
It's like if you get to that forge, you might have to sacrifice something, and I'm like, you can take her.
Yeah, no, James.
I'm with the blue 4-armed witch doll.
Hell yeah!
I'm gonna peace out with her.
James was actually there when I did that part, and I actually commented during the cutscene. I was like, I feel like the way they're swelling the music right now, they really want me to care about what's happening to this character, and I just don't.
See, I cared because of the fact that I cared because of the fact that I felt it was wasted potential. I wanted more. I like her as a concept. I like what I've seen of her so far. I like the fact that she didn't even necessarily believe in me at the start of the game, and that Torrent is the reason the horse why she sided with me.
Yeah, she's here. I
can fucking dig that. But the
horse liked me better.
If you get to the thing at the if you sit at the side of Grace at the door to the 3 fingers, you have 3 or 4 dialogue options where she's begging you not to touch the door, and it's like, I want more of this.
Yeah.
I want a lot more. And
yeah,
I just,
I think that would have helped me actually give a shit about her, but
it just feels a little underdeveloped for me.
Yes. As is, I don't even lament the lost potential because I didn't see any loss. I was just kind of like, yeah, it was just that one didn't work for me. But I see what you're saying though, James, especially since you are coming from knowing how that kind of character was treated and written in previous games.
Yeah, like I'm thinking of like the Emerald Herald, where she all like you reach a new area and like she'll be there and she has new dialogue for you and whatnot, and like and lore bits, or the Maiden in Black being intrinsically tied to the Great Old One of Demon Souls, and she is a vital plot point. Or
the Doll and Bloodborne's link to Lady Maria.
Yeah, all sorts of little bits, or even the Firekeeper in Dark Souls 3 and how she's directly tied to the ending. Like, there's so much stuff that they could have done to expand Melina's character.
Yes.
And that's part of the reason why it's like I feel disappointed and sad, because it's like I just want more, and I want her to be a fleshed out, better character.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's also, I think, just part of, and this is she's a weird exception for what I'm about to say, but it kind of goes hand in hand with the like abrupt nature of a lot of the plot lines of like there are so many strong NPCs that just on a basis of, you know, sometimes things as shallow as their appearance or like, you know, one cool thing they do or say, there's a really rich cast of characters here that I want to see do more exciting things. But just the way the narrative is structured and delivered, you don't get that. Like my favorite character in the whole game so far is Dee, the Hunter of the Dead.
Okay.
And there's so many things that just from two interactions, he became my character, my dude after two interactions. And it was all just because of on storytelling just being done by appearance, basically, of like for those who haven't played the game, his armor is a split between gold and silver and is made to mimic him holding the body of someone to his chest.
Yep.
And you find out through playing his storyline that he has a history with a woman whose inherent power is to draw life force from whoever she touches. And she frequently offers comfort to you by offering to hold you. And she has a history with Dee of like, in my headcanon and from the lore that I'm picking up, he knows she's this like force of necromancy and he's a hunter of the dead, but he longs for her so badly he's crafted his armor to look like holding her. And the end of his quest line is she murders him.
Well, yes, but so also, you know, he's a twin and the armor is specifically twinned armor. I had always read that as that was the
holding his brother.
Yes, that was the like brothers in the womb, because
interesting.
I don't know how much you've progressed Fia's
Fia, I'm at the Lich Dragon.
Okay. So
I've already put into motion the events that Dee's brother is going to murder.
Yes, he wears his brother's armor to do so.
Fucking A.
Yeah. So that to me was like, oh, this is the twinness, which is a very like it's throughout the entire game a theme of like twins and also sort of like duplicitous nature within oneself, which is cool, and I think it's really cool in some instances, But then in others, I was kind of like, this is getting a little too on the nose. Like there's a few too many characters who are like, aha, like you've been fighting me in this form, but I am secretly this new name now for my second form. And I'm like,
don't get me fucking started on this Market the Fell thing.
Yeah. I was like the basically
I got a whole thing to go into there.
I really, really liked it in like in multiple instances, but then there were other instances where I was just like, this is maybe a little too much. Maybe we should not. Maybe like the theme would be a little stronger if we limited it a little bit more. Just kind of, it doesn't. I get it. I get what you're going for. Like, but I think the theme doesn't need to be present in every single boss fight in the end.
I think that's the fingerprints of George Martin, because a lot of his writing style focuses on family drama and long legacies and things like that. So
that's the
old Georgie boy's hand is all over that.
My other complaint about George Martin's involvement is how fucking similar so many of the names are. Where it's like, how can I keep straight all of the R's, all of the G's, all of the M's? It's just like, excuse me, I have a day job and a real life. I'm not going to sit here and map out the family trees of every single, I'm just like, stop.
His way of defending that too, I get where he comes from, but it's also very frustrating because he's done interviews where people have brought that up with him. And he said, well, if you look at English history, it's dominated by Georges, Richards, and Edwards.
Absolutely. I understand that.
Hey, that's cool. That's real life.
But this isn't real life. This is a narrative.
That's on that note.
This is fiction.
On that on that note too, as a minor thing, right? So your maiden's name is Melina, right? I was taking a look at the trophy list and I read it and I'm like, wait a minute, she's a boss fight, and it's like, no, that's Malenia. And
or
it's like
completely unrelated.
Well, they might be tangentially related with lore stuff, but at the same time, the names are so fucking similar.
Radon and Radagon.
I can accept Godwin and Godric because at least those are
and Godfrey.
Godfrey.
Those get a pass.
And here's the thing, that would be I understand from historically that's how it is. But you aren't writing a historical narrative here. You are crafting a pantheon, right? These are essentially gods, right? Call them by a different name. They're the lords, they're whatever. They're the gods of this world, right? And gods, yes, some of them will have similar names when they're within the same family, but you look at Greek myths or Japanese pantheons or any other place, and it's just you have unique names for the gods because they are unique beings, even when they are birthed free. Even when you have Zeus being birthed from all of these giants, it's not just Zeus and Zeus, it's just no, that's stupid. All of Zeus's kids have incredibly varied different names because you don't want to sit there and be like, oh, well, I need to worship the god of the crops right now, but I can't remember if her name is Demeter or Demetrius or Damascus, and if I
or her brother Dimitri,
or if I worship the wrong one, all of my crops will go up in flames.
I'm gonna make a game about the Greeks, and there's gonna be Zeus and Zeus and Zas and Zat.
Yeah, see, exactly. I'm just from a writing standpoint, I'm just you have to you can't if people are constantly confusing your characters, that's not a point in your favor as a writer,
No.
that's they're not anyway,
one other thing about the narrative, and it's just more of a minor thing of what I wanted, especially because it does there is so much open to interpretation. I do wish that there was more, and this is a thing in Dark Souls 1, and I really wish that there was more of that in later games, of two characters telling you completely conflicting things, and there's no evidence necessarily supporting either, and it's just up to you what you want. Because in Dark Souls 1,
I like that.
You meet this serpent, and he's like, you need to reignite the first flame and usher in a new age of fire. Don't usher in the age of dark. The age of dark is the bad thing. But if you end up going to a different area earlier than you're necessarily supposed to, you meet another serpent who's like, nah, man, the Age of Fire is the reason why the world is fucked. The world needs to move on. Bring in the Age of Dark. And it's like, these are two different characters who are basically telling you that one ending is good and one ending is bad, but it's entirely up to you and your viewpoint. Do you want to keep the world in the status quo, which is potentially fucked? Or do you want to go off into the unknown where it still could be potentially fucked, but it's like, the devil you know versus the devil you don't know sort of thing. And it's, I dig that shit. And I was kind of
good.
hoping that would be here, or even a little more. It is a little bit,
but again, because Melina's presence is so not felt, you don't really get that. And also the Shibriri and like that whole side part is it's not extremely impactful. So I have a friend who's going with more of a like madness build for his confessor, and I'm like, listen, the setup for that ending is one of the most like fucking infuriating things I've ever done in a video game, but like, you need to do it for your character because it's the perfect ending for your character.
Yeah,
I was kind of surprised to see that angle show up. Like, I hit the mountaintops and it's like, hey, suddenly here's the god of chaos. I'm like, oh, wait, where are we going now?
No,
I liked that, and I wanted, I really liked that, and like, I adore that ending. Like, it is my favorite, and it's not my canon ending because my character loves the moon. But like, I adored it. I thought it was so cool, and I wanted its presence to be felt more in the rest of the game. Like, I wanted there to be more of this undercurrent of like more quests about like madness and chaos. Like, instead of just like, oh, every area has like a village that's inflicted with madness. You know? Like that to me did not like really cement that as like a potential like world shattering impact to everything. I wanted to see more of that.
By comparison, like I like the stuff that they did with the rot, even though I hate rot.
Yes.
And I hate Malinia. But like even though I hated the Radon boss fight, I love his lore, I love his design. I like the fact that he's so much of a fucking badass motherfucker that he learns gravity so he can ride his tiny fucking horse. That is so fucking cool. And the fact that he's completely far gone, that they have a festival just to murder him, and that he's, even in his madness, he's still holding back a fucking asteroid. He's still holding back the...
Yes.
That's fucking neat.
That's fucking neat, yeah. No, thematically and, like, lore-wise, I love Radon. Hated that boss fight because it just felt like a really boring gimmick.
Yeah.
After a while. Where it was just like, oh, you summon all these people, and you basically just have to, run around and avoid him and try to get, rot on him and whatever. It's just like,
I got so wrapped up in the spectacle of like summoning the boys to go fight him. I've got a soft spot for the cosmic newborn, bloodborne creature hiding under the ground. But Radon might be my favorite boss fight.
Really?
I don't know if you fought
the fight itself is infuriating.
Yeah.
It's thematically just
it
so
was neat.
Okay.
I'm just so, and then he turns into a meteor, and I just go, "Oh no, you died!"
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
Yeah, when he first turned to the meteor, I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. I think, just like I basically just rode around on the horse and just like resummoned people every time, and it was just we were just doing chip damage to him the whole time, and like I've seen some people on Twitter be like, "That's the best part of it," and I'm like, okay, agree to disagree.
That's what I tried to do. And then I kept getting my ass stomped. And then finally, when I just got in there and then rotted him and then just fucking moonveiled him, I got him in like the first attempt. It's like, oh, I should have just gotten right up into his stupid fucking horse.
Yeah, I was too scared of him. So maybe that's on me. Maybe it would have been a better fight if I had been not,
He still fucking hits hard though. So it's like. Ugh.
Yeah, and I am squishy. But
Revert the
I think
nerfs.
actually at the Radon, and it was pre-nerf too. And
Yeah.
at the Radon fight, I probably had like 20 vigor.
Oh God.
I spent most of the game at 20 vigor. All right, like
Oh,
I
you're
was
a caster. That's not that bad.
yeah, exactly. I went pure glass cannon. I put every time I leveled up, I put it into int. I have 80 int base without like buffs. I have like 90 int as just like, with all the buffs I add on my character.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, this is my
I'm just
my
gonna pull the
boy.
moon down on you.
Yep. This is my boy. He throws moons and fights with lasers. Lasers people to death.
There was a little bit of it in a sense with the magic, but like another thing I kind of wish was like a thing that I love about Demon Souls is the fact that you have the sorcery bros and the faith bros, and they're super against each other, and they keep calling the other person heresy and shit like that. And then you find out that the spells all originate from the same source, which is the horrible cosmic elder god, and it's just they're both fucking wrong. They're both technically doing heresy, and it's two sides of the same fucking coin. And it's like I want more of that shit.
Yeah, I love that. That I genuinely love that so much that I had one of my D&D campaigns actually had that incorporated, where there's this religious war going on, or like it was like in the past it was going on, where they were like, basically two sides being like, my god is right and yours is wrong, and it's the same fucking god. I love that shit.
I kind of like when it almost does the Marvel thing where like what we think of as like religion is actually just like weird cosmic bullshit, like Thor. It's like, yeah, it's Thor from Norse mythology, but he's just like basically kind of a magical alien in a weird sense.
Yeah, no, basically.
Like, and with like fun side note, because I geek out every time I think of it. Kevin Smith had a pitch for what he would want to do for an Avengers movie. And he said,
on his podcast, right?
Yeah, he was on, I think it was Movie Fights. And he said, like, in the Marvel universe, religion is just like, it's things that actually exist, and we're just looking at it through a different lens. So his ultimate pitch for the Avengers would be to fight Saint Michael the Archangel.
Oh my god.
Like, though, that would be the shit.
That would be awesome.
That'd be the shit.
And I also just really I adore the like that concept of like, some bit of lore that is so old that it's just been like basically mistranslated forever, where it's just like it's gotten to the point where like this godlike being that we just come to worship is just it's just a magic alien, right? Like it's just like that like that shit is where it's like time and human error of copying, right? Like kind of distorts something into something else. I like that stuff. But anyway,
okay. I want to hit a good point that hasn't been brought up yet, and a bad point that hasn't been brought up yet, and they both have to do with the same thing. They both have to do with items.
Okay.
The good being, I am so thrilled at how many viable weapon builds there are.
Yes.
Now, there are some that are just better. Like
Moonveil, baby.
Weapons scale. Like if you're a faith build, you want to either be using the Blasphemer's sword or the winged scythe. Like, you can make an argument for Cypherpada and do the, Zealot Protoss, My Life for Ire build.
Yeah.
Because they're also weightless and they scale beyond faith. They're pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
But just the fact that you can pick up a new item, and whereas in a lot of different games, and even from what I've seen in some previous Soulsborne games, you get a new weapon, go like, oh, that sounds cool, and you swing it around for a bit and go, oh, well, that's bullshit, it's too bad, it sucks, and then you just go back to your other OP weapon. There's so much shit in this game that's viable.
Yes.
Like, my one of the Let's Players that I watch, Wooly Versus, he's doing his playthrough. And his main weapon of choice that he's decided on for his prisoner is Cestus. Just
boxing,
fists.
baby.
Oh, that's
Like,
awesome.
He's got legendary shit. He's got all kinds of good, and he's like, nah, dog. Cestus is where it's and
Wait,
his.
is Cestus the one you get from killing the?
It's a bare bones basic like punching gloves.
Yeah. I
Essentially.
think you can buy them
Is
from
that-
somebody, right?
I think you buy them from Gatekeeper Gostrick.
Okay.
Oh, okay. 'Cause I know there's also a punching stuff you get from killing the blackguard at the prawn shack.
Oh no, it's not him. Not
Okay,
him.
okay,
But
okay, 'cause
yeah, so it's
I
just
was
like a pair of boxing gloves.
Don't kill him. The end of his quest is great.
Oh, it's so good.
He was my best friend.
And then his
I bought so much crab off of him. You have no idea.
Well, I love the little bits of like he's like hardened ex-con.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like, yeah, I'll take some crab from you. Oh, you like the crab, do you? Man, you're on the level. I like you.
Yeah.
You should hang out more often. We'll eat more spicy crab.
Yeah, right? I was just like, I love you.
And then his backup weapon for like, when he needs a little more range than fists, is Saint Trina's sword that builds up sleep.
The sleep one. Yeah.
And like he's podcasting with his partner on Castle Super Beast, who's like super into the game. And he's just like floored. Like your two major weapon sets are like basic ass like punching gauntlets and the sleep sword. That's awesome. And that to me is way fucking cool.
Yes.
Like
yes.
I'm
that
so
it's like
glad.
a viable, like it's still a viable, but like there's so much content in this game you would expect so much of it to just be trash. Where it's like, okay, I'll throw this away the second I'm done with it. But no, like I had a the starter glintstone staff for my astrologer, and I just like leveled it up a ton. I had that for like most of the game.
I used the starting confessor sword for a little longer than I expected I would.
Yeah, I
would switch it out for like certain damage types. Like, once I got the Morning Star, I'm like, okay, I need to use this for like, golems and Crystal Bros.
Oh yeah, but I should probably well, I mean, I guess I don't have to do anything now because the game's over, but I probably do actually need to get like a mace or something. Some bludgeoning damage.
Yeah, just something to mix it up. Yeah. But like, that's a big four for this game.
Are there int-based maces?
You can, well, I mean, with the whole Ash of War stuff, you can make it scale.
Yeah, you can Ash of War it, but like, what if just cool mace?
I mean, I was a blunt weapon that scales with int, probably.
Oh, okay. Here's perfect example to prove my point.
Okay, sorry, go ahead, Lee.
Perfect example to prove my point. Just earlier, I was doing that same thing of like, I need a new damage type in my repertoire. And I was looking through my weapons and I wanted something that would deal strike damage. So I'm looking at the hammers and maces and shit. And I'm like, okay, what scales with faith? Ooh, this one scales a C on faith without any stones in it. That's awesome. What are you? And it's the gold trumpet that the duders over at the Capitol have.
Dude, apparently the long gold horn is like one of the best weapons for a faith build in the game.
I've got the one-handed one, and
the two-handed one is like apparently just like insane.
Oh god. And the fact that what should, for all intents and purposes, come off as a joke weapon. Of like when Alexander gives you a jar to put on your head. Like I'm carrying around the golden Doot trumpet.
You get a jar from him?
Oh yeah, I can wear a jar on my head.
I'm so mad now.
Yeah, I can wear a jar.
Well, I guess I gotta start a new playthrough so I can get that jar.
I gotta follow my jar fantasies.
Oh my god.
The fact that what should be a joke weapon is like one of my best options right now for leveling as a faith weapon is just great. I love it. I love that it's not all just like boss weapons. It's like, yeah, sure. If you're a FromSoft fan, the second you get Moonlight, you're putting on Moonlight. Like, that's just how it works.
I mean, Moonlight Greatsword is pretty big.
It's
I loved that. Yeah. God.
But then, however, this oddly plays opposite end of the coin to one of my biggest criticisms about the items, which is the massive gap in quality between talismans.
Oh, yes.
If your talisman set isn't Radagons and Arsenal Charm, then
What's Arsenal Charm?
Arsenal Charm increases your equipment load by a shitload.
Oh, okay.
You get it from Nefeli.
Oh, I think then I'm
pretty early.
I beat her quest line, I completed her quest line, so I think
okay,
you've probably
got one.
What I've been running is the two source seals.
Yep.
Well, either the two source seals or one of the source seals and the one the Moon of Noxtella that increases memory slots.
Oh, there you go.
Because the laser takes up 3 memory slots and the moon takes up 2. So without the increase, I only have 5 extra, where I'm like, oh, I have a lot of spells, so I like to use a lot of spells.
It's my feeling, looking at a lot of the talismans, that there are just strictly some that are far better than others. And I feel
agree.
like talismans feel that they are supposed to fill this great slot of making you better at the very niche things you like being better at.
Yes, correct.
To add to this, I agree and I disagree, Lee. Because I think there's plenty of bunk talismans.
Oh.
Where like you'll get like
increased headshot damage.
Or like,
oh god, yeah, like what?
Or you get like a talisman and then you find like a +1 version of the talisman. It's like, well, this other one is now redundant, and especially because you can't stack them.
Yes.
But I do
apparently. Well, I don't know if it actually stacks, but I can have both of the increased sorcery talismans equipped, so I do.
Interesting. But I do think that there is, at least from what my experience and of swapping stuff out, there are enough talismans that are good where I could swap up and make things varied. Like, I could absolutely have both source seals equipped to boost my stats basically by 40, right? But then there's also stuff like Radagon Icon, which shortens spellcasting time, which is really good for super, super, super lengthy ass spells, because seconds count, you know? Like, especially for fucking the Kamehameha bullshit, where it's just like...
I had it for a while on the Kamehameha, but I've gotten so good at timing that, like figuring out the window to get it to go off, that like I don't even need Radagons.
But or like for me, because like I you know, I'm
again,
always getting up.
I am not good at most of this game. I'm great at timing long range spells.
For me, who's like constantly up in somebody's grill and like constantly like physical attacking and rolling and dodging and whatever, Green Turtle Talisman increasing my stamina recovery speed so I can fucking roll faster, or you know, like shit like that. Or like there's one.
I mean, I ended up swapping out talismans for a couple boss fights when it was clear that like, okay, this guy's doing a ton of X amount of like X damage. I'm going to, you know, use the talisman that negates that damage. So
yeah, or like there's another talisman which is super useful. I didn't really get to use it all that much, but like it will give you FP back if you score a critical hit. Right? And on Moonveil, if you just do basic art like Ash of War R2, like the fucking vertical slash, that crits most enemies.
Yeah, but Moonveil doesn't. The Virgil build doesn't count.
Shut the fuck up. Get your elitist bullshit out of here. What I'm just talking about is like, what I'm just basically talking about is just getting like my FP back, or most of my FP back for that, so I can do more Ash of War type stuff, because there's plenty of other heavy hitting Ashes of War that will like stun an enemy much faster, and it's like getting that back is pretty neat. Or even general exploration, just the one talisman, I get FP back whenever I kill somebody, or if I can, you know, that sort of thing. But there are tons of junk talismans where it's just like, this is just kind of a waste. Like, why would I ever equip this? Like, who I don't care.
The ones that like just increase like a single stat, like int or faith or something like that, I'm just
those
like,
can fuck off.
Meh. Yeah, because there's so many that are like, hey, increase like HP, stamina, and you know,
or
FP, and it's just like
the one talisman. the worst talisman in the game because it's fucking lying. The long tail cat talisman
Oh,
renders
God.
the wearer immune to
It's such
fall
a
damage.
lie.
Yeah.
It's such a lie. Because there's no, like, you even, like, there's such a small window where fall damage actually matters, because it's either I've survived the fall or I'm insta dead.
Yeah,
Like,
like something like that was useful in Dark Souls, where there was a much bigger window between like no damage and death. So it's like, yeah, I will equip this, and like I'm not gonna take damage. But like the window here is so small, it seems like, okay, like I drop down this distance, I don't take any damage. I drop down 10 feet more and I take damage, but only at like 10 feet. And then I drop down like from that starting point 11 feet, so I'm like 1 foot below the fall damage, but I'm dead now. And it's like that fucking cat talisman is such a piece of shit.
yeah, I used it.
Just worthless.
It's absolutely worthless. I used it once and I don't think it actually helped. It was just more of a like, I'm going to equip this just in case it does something, and it was for the fucking setup for the frenzied flame ending.
I think I equipped it in Radagon's tower as I was trying to like get down to the bottom level.
Oh yeah, that doesn't matter at all.
I threw it on, and then I died once. It was like, so that was a fucking lie, and I immediately unequipped it.
Yeah, no, it's a joke. Yeah.
But yeah, the talisman diversity, I just think could have been a little more evened out. Like the ones that to me are really impressive are the ones that are like I can't remember, they had a name and they might have been insignias. Or it was like your damage on horseback is increased, or like your charge attacks hit hard, like axe insignia, lance insignia. Those I think were perfect examples of what they should have expanded on.
Oh yeah, sure. I tended to ignore most of those just because, or I think I had the horseback one equipped for a long time, but like, just because it was like one of the only talismans I actually had at the time. But since I ran so heavy into sorcery, I usually just used the sorcery talismans, right? But yeah, no, that I do agree that if they had like boosted ones for like later game, because I think you get so many of those so early too.
Yeah.
Kind of like
before front load
really, and before you've really had a chance to kind of like really beef up what your character's gonna do. So they feel kind of basic. So by the end, if you're still running with like, the critical hit one or something like that, you're kind of like, I feel like there's a better thing for me to put on at this point.
Right.
So yeah, even if you have the all. I think you get 4 talisman pouches is the final count.
Yeah, you can have 4 total.
Okay. Yeah.
To segue into my biggest criticism.
Oh wait, can I real quick highlight a couple more things I liked?
Sure.
Just very very quickly. I think we've already talked about it a lot, so just like a couple of my other likes are the co-op and the variety of supported playstyles, which we've already talked about at length. There were multiple side quests I really enjoyed. Sellen's was probably my favorite. I really liked Ronnie's, which is like has a much bigger impact on the game than Sellen's, but like I just liked Sellen a lot as a character. I liked Gold Masks because it really impacts it really feeds into the lore. There's like a lot of
I've had nothing to do with Gold Mask yet.
Ooh, yeah, no, you'll get there and it'll be great.
Finish it.
I've just seen him pointing at the tree and that's it.
Finish it before you complete Farum Azula, because if you complete Farum Azula, you're locked out.
Yeah, you're locked out of it. Yeah. And then Fia's I also liked. So
yeah.
To your point too, with like D and Fia, all that stuff was really interesting. And then literally yesterday I spent a lot of time struggling to finish, and I was mostly going it solo because James was busy. My other friend is out of town. My other friend who is at the point where he could help me is out of town. So I was like struggling with this solo and just getting really frustrated. But then I got to the actual like end game and it was awesome. I cannot sing the praises of the end of this game more. I genuinely, it like completely turned my attitude around where I was just like, oh, this is fucking awesome. So I really like the ending, and I can't wait to hear your experience with it, Lee, at some point. Yeah.
So
So go into your dislikes, James, because I also want to talk about dislikes
my
at some point.
chief criticism is the amount of reused bosses.
Yes.
And
Yep.
I
Yep.
get it because it's a giant open world and
Yep.
they want to fill all these spaces with a boss. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that from a design standpoint because I'm just gonna throw a random number out there because I don't fucking I honestly don't know. Let's say there's a fucking 100 bosses in this game, right?
Mhm.
Maybe 40 of them are unique. Maybe, right?
Yeah.
And like I get that designing 100 unique bosses would be a fucking nightmare.
Yes.
But as much as the initial thing of the open world and in its size really impressed me, by the end when I was just like, I go through this cave and it's like, oh, it's another Crucible Knight, or oh, it's another Crystallarian, or oh, it's another fucking Tree Spirit. I was so I hated the Tree Spirit the first time.
Seeing the rotten tree spirits again at the end of a dungeon was just like, fuck me. Like, here we fucking go.
Yeah, and the fact that without really, I mean, we can briefly talk about it because Lee's seen it. Like the fact that they reused Margit.
Yeah.
You know, it's Margit and Morgott, and I'm just
that
like,
one pisses me
Which-
off.
Yeah.
It's
Again, it's supposed to be the twin or duplicity, but it's just kind of like, really, again? Although I will say the second time I met him, I fucking deleted him.
Yeah,
and it
like-
was wonderful.
I erased him from the
Same,
face of
like-
the earth.
I lasered the shit out of him and it took like a minute.
like there's a few instances in previous FromSoft games where there's like a reused boss. Like probably the most famous fucking example is the goddamn Taurus demon in fucking Dark Souls 1, right? Or the fucking Vanguard demon, right? Like there's a couple of instances in Bloodborne when you get to the Chalice dungeons, because they're super fucking optional. There's a fair amount of reused bosses, but it's not nearly to this extent. I don't think there's been one of these games in the past where I've fought it the same fucking boss and it does virtually the same fucking mechanics like 8 fucking times. And that just gets it takes away from the uniqueness of the particular boss. Like when I first fought a magma worm, it's like, oh, this is cool. It's a little frustrating because it just vomits lava all over the place, but this is kind of cool. Yeah. And then I have to fight it again. And then I fight it again. And then I fight it again.
Especially since, like, you come to, well, I think you put it best when you called it open world bloat.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of definitely, it's also not a problem unique to this game.
Yeah, it's not a problem unique to this game.
Yeah, a lot of open worlds have this problem where it's just, okay, I've seen this enemy a million times and I'm fighting another one because you needed to populate this area with something for me to do. And you just said, here's another copy-paste enemy. Like, you know, like, I get it. Or like another tower to climb or another dungeon to explore or whatever.
In Dark Souls or Demon Souls, there would maybe be in a single game 1 to 3 dragons. And each one was fairly varied.
Yeah.
And it was a unique special moment because it's a fucking dragon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas here, that the first time I found that dragon in Limgrave, the one that fucking just swoops in out of nowhere, that was fucking cool.
Oh, Agheel.
Yeah, Agheel.
Yeah.
But then they reuse that exact same model and moveset for so many other dragons, and I'm just like,
yeah. And they have like different resistances, but
and maybe this one breathes rot, or maybe this one breathes ice, or maybe this one breathes red lightning.
They're not special. They don't feel like characters. They're field bosses, which is just kind of like, you know, like the first time I fought a tree sentinel, it was like, oh fuck, and then I fought the dragon tree sentinel, and it was like, oh fuck, and then
they're all just asylum demons.
Yeah, exactly. And then there were 2 of them outside of Lindell, and I was just like, whatever, I'm running past these 2. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, I was telling Kat this when I first got to Lindell. Like, I was like, oh, oh, there's 2 tree sentinels. Okay, I'm just gonna run past them. And then I just run to the other side of the map, and I stumble upon another tree sentinel. I'm like, God fucking damn it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
The first tree sentinel in Limgrave was a super cool tool to teach the player that, hey, you can run away from fights. If you see a tough fucking enemy, you don't have to go at it right away. You can come back later and deal with it.
Yeah, I loved him.
And it's great game design.
Yeah, especially since I came back, hours and hours later and just like clowned on him. Like me and my friend just absolutely bullied that man to death. And it was wonderful.
If you want to fight it, if you want to do the Cosmonaut Marcus thing of picking a wretch and fucking hitting it with a stick until it fucking dies, even though you have no goddamn armor, go for it. You can fucking do it. It's fucking awesome.
What a king.
Yeah, what a fucking Chad move. It's fucking great.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I mean, that's like I mean, we don't do dev talk too much on this podcast, but on God of War, we were all watching the people who were like, I'm going to, no armor, beat the, Queen Valkyrie on the hardest difficulty, never getting hit, because if I get hit, I just insta die.
Yeah.
And, oh my god, it's just like, man, if you want to challenge yourself like that, go for it, but, we did not intend for the game to be played that way. Yeah. You can just not do that.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Damn.
And it's a great tool. But the second I fight another one of it, it just takes away from that magic of it. And that's one of the things that I
and especially since now you're just like, oh, another one, and you've already to an extent it's kind of like I already know what to do. So the second time I fought a one of the Erd Tree Guardians, right? Yeah. The first time, that was oh my god, this is so hard. I died so many times. I ended up doing it on horseback, where I was just putting up my glintstone, the one that I can buy off the turtle. I forget what it's called. The glintstone warding thing where it shoots a sword after a couple seconds of it being up.
Yeah.
So I would just place those and then kind of lead the tree toward it, and then it would, get hit with it. Yeah. So I was never in danger. I figured out my cheese strat for it, right? And then I fight that same exact thing 8 or 9 more times. And it's just I either do the same thing or I was more powerful, so I had an evolved strat, and I would just the last one I fought, I literally just one shot with Commodore.
Yeah.
It was the easiest fucking thing in the world. And I'm like, why am I even doing this right now?
Yeah, that's the thing is even the bosses in the previous games that I would fucking hate, the fucking Rom the goddamn spider in fucking Bloodborne, or Dragon God in Demon Souls, or the fucking worst, the fucking bed of fucking chaos in Dark Souls 1, which is the fucking goddamn worst piece of fucking shit that they've ever goddamn designed. So much so that Miyazaki has even apologized for how fucking awful the bed of chaos is. At least it was unique, and I never had to fight it again unless I did a new character or went into New Game Plus.
Yes.
Whereas, when I fought that fucking tree spirit behind the fog gate in Limgrave, in the fucking tutorial area, and I had the worst fucking experience where it was fucking able to do its charge attack as I'm exiting the fog gate, killing me in one hit before I can even get through the fucking fog gate. And it's in this tiny ass room where it's clipping through the fucking walls, and it's a mess of pixels, and I can't tell what the fuck it's doing.
You literally can't see any of its tells. Yeah. Because the camera is up against the wall, and you're clipping through the model of it, so you can't see any of the really obvious animations it's doing, because they put it in this tiny ass fucking room. Yeah, and you're what are you doing, guys?
And the second I killed it, I was thank God it's dead, and I never have to see it again. And little did I fucking know that it was one of 11.
Oh, sweet summer child.
11 that I know of. I'm sure there's fucking more.
Oh, there's gotta be more. Do you know what would have actually made that maybe more bearable and also kind of unique? If they scaled it. If maybe there's a baby one in a dungeon somewhere, and that's the first one you fight.
Yeah, maybe that one could have been a baby one because it's fucking inside this tiny ass room.
Exactly. Make it like a Plecostomus, where they only grow as big as their like they can reasonably move in their
in
enclosure.
their environment.
Yeah, like make it that kind of thing. So then you run into one in the open world, and it's fucking gargantuan.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
So
like,
And Radon rides it.
and
so
Radon rides it into,
no,
the stars.
No, Radon would fucking goddamn ride the tiniest one because he likes his tiny ass horse. But like maybe so it's not half of its body isn't clipping through the fucking wall. God damn it. And the only reason why I beat it is because fucking AI broke after I staggered it. And it's just, it didn't fucking move anymore. I was like, alright, I'm just gonna keep fucking wailing on you.
Hey,
sure.
we take those.
We take those.
We take those.
I'm in on it now.
But yeah, it has the same problem as to why I don't normally play open world games, is because of the bloat. And it's just, it's tedious, busy work. Like, I can have, I have fun in Far Cry because some of the chaos that I can do, or in Grand Theft Auto because of the chaos
Far
that
Cry
I can
has
do.
a lot of
like so much of these games where it's just it's big for the sake of being big, with not a lot of shit to do in it, and I don't really care. That's why I gravitate towards smaller games.
Yes,
for the most part.
or I prefer open worlds. Like, obviously I have sung its praises a lot. I like Ghost of Tsushima for that reason, where it's an open world, yes, but it's also incredibly contained. It's these small islands where, like, it's not infinite. There's not a ton of, like, reused everything, right? Like, it's definitely not a perfect open world, but I think in general, it's like, hey, this is an actual manageable. A lot of people I know who played that game commented on how they really enjoyed it because it didn't feel like most open worlds where it's just like, as soon as you reveal part of the map, you're like, oh my god, there's so much more of this I have to do. Where it's just like, no, it's very self-contained. And I didn't feel that for Elden Ring for most of it.
Most of it, yeah.
I know a friend of mine who's been playing it got to a certain point, like revealed a certain area, and was just like, another fucking area. Like, oh my god. And so to mild aside for for likes again, most of the like levels that I really liked were late game levels. Like, I'm a sucker for snow levels. I love running around in the snow, so I loved the snowy areas you unlocked.
Farum Azula's fucking cool as shit.
I adored Farum Azula. Holy shit. I was just like, I wanted more of it. I wanted it earlier. I wanted more things like it.
I don't want to spoil it for Lee because he hasn't properly been there.
Yeah.
But
no spoilers.
When I told you the one thing, I told you
it's like a whole legacy dungeon of like networks, and I'm just like, this is beautiful.
I told Kat one thing because she knew about a certain element of Farum Azula, and her first thing was just, are you fucking kidding me? And it's pretty fucking dope.
It's really cool. I also really liked. I didn't love most of the underground stuff. I was like the river,
Nokstala and Nokron.
No, I loved Nokron and Nokstala.
Yeah, those are cool.
I loved the cities. I didn't love the like underground forest stuff. Like, I was just kind of like, oh, all right, whatever.
Listen,
like, or like the underground ruins.
At least
it wasn't the Lake of Rot. Yeah. No, but I like Nokstala and Nokron. I was just like, ooh, give me more of this. This is fucking dope. Like, just like this fucking like starry night lit cityscape. I'm just like, where I'm like clambering over rooftops.
Yep.
More of that. So yeah, but what was I? Why did I go off on these the level thing? Because like, but at that point, like when I was unlocking these like new areas that I adored, I was already starting to feel very fatigued of like another area to explore. Hooray! You know, like I was just like, okay, this I think it needs to be done.
I think they could have shaved off some chunks of this game and tightened up, like made the world map a little smaller and just tightened it up a wee bit, less copy pasted bosses. Like,
Yes.
I'd be fine if I went through one of those caves and there was no boss. There was just a treasure there. Like, sure,
Ooh,
it didn't
yeah.
end with a gigantic climactic fight, but I
No,
don't
but that
need to
would be-
fight
that would be
Crystallarians for the 90th fucking time.
Yeah, exactly. Like I could definitely stand for, like variants on the standard cave dungeon or tomb dungeon or, whatever.
Yeah.
Like just have one that's just like, oh yeah, like you get to the end and it's just a bunch of treasure.
There's some...
There was nothing
And there's
more
maybe some
disappointing
interesting
to
lore
me.
to it.
There was nothing more disappointing to me than the wet fart of the reveal of Morgott. When I got to the end of the capital, and like it wasn't clear to me at that point, like if it was Margit or if he's like related to Margit.
Yes.
But the fact that I get there and I'm like, yeah, let's fight the King of Kings. Let's fight the ruler
And
of this
it's
army.
just
And it's
him.
a dude I've seen before.
And he does almost everything the exact same way, except for he has one new attack.
Except I shit on him way harder.
Yeah. Because
I
had
first
Melina
tried him
and I had
really
fucking my
easily.
Mimic. And it's just, get fucked. Shout out to my boy Mimic. He's dumb as fuck, but goddamn is he tanky.
Mm-hmm.
Goddamn is that boy tanky.
I fought him with my buddy Ethan, and like he was like, yeah, go through that door. It's like the next the next boss. It'll be great. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like him again? Like I was very much just like, no, I don't want to fight him again. And then literally it took a minute, and like I was dying of laughter as I just like lasered him in the face and like didn't even have to get close. Ethan was sitting there like, are you fucking shitting me? Like I struggled. I was like ready to help you through a struggle, and this was just like the easiest fucking thing in the world for you.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, magic might be a little broken in some instances. I still struggle. It's just sometimes the stars align and I can just delete someone.
That was your evolution, Cat, because you started your playthrough in co-op and you'd summon me and we'd walk into a boss room and I would basically one-shot the boss. And you're like, I didn't even get to do anything. It's like, don't worry about it.
I didn't get to learn anything. I didn't get to figure out anything. And then I was just like, laser go burr.
It's once you get laser go burr or you get your at least pre-patch frost stomp. It's fucking stomping motherfuckers for days.
Dude, when I would call you in and you would just fucking frost stomp a bitch, I was like, damn, this is fucking awesome. I think we did it with like one of the trio or pair Crystallarian fights.
Something like
in the cave.
that.
Yeah,
Something
and that was just
that.
like, yes, this is how it's done.
Or you're
this is how it's done.
Yeah, or one time you're
I
like,
needed
oh,
help.
hey, there's this mob of enemies. I'll take half, you take half. I'm like, no, I got this, and I frost stomp, and they're all dead. And you're like, oh, okay.
Although then I got the Adula Moonblade.
Yep.
And that is like my favorite AoE attack, basically.
And then it just
you you slash an ice blade across everything and everything dies.
Yeah, then it just literally turned into which one of us will kill them faster.
Yeah. Which has been fun. Again, one of my biggest likes was playing co-op with you and with my my other buddies who are playing. Like that has been some of the most fun in this game.
Yeah.
So I have 2 other dislikes I wanted to talk about that have not been mentioned. And I think the first one I'm going to mention, everyone will agree with. No one will hate me for. Fuck the platforming in these fucking games.
Well, yeah, that goes without saying.
Fuck it.
Also, the hitboxes take the piss.
Well, yes, but like, fuck the platforming. Oh, I'm just like, the Caelid Tower, and then heading down to the Madness door. I was just like, I am ready to die.
Caelid Tower fucking sucks.
Yeah, genuinely, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I wished hemorrhoids on the designers. I was just like, kill me now, please. I don't want to do this to progress. Like,
especially if they're invisible platforms.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yes. Like, just absolutely. I was just like, I'm like, there's nothing about the game up until the point that you're doing platforming that prepares you for platforming.
Unless
there's
unless
there's
you're
no
familiar, or unless you've decided to be a cheesy dickhead and use torrent to fucking sequence break, so you don't fucking have to do a stupid gesture in front of a
yes.
fucking tower.
Yes,
that's it.
Well, which yeah, I did that.
Yeah,
but
I did
like,
that too.
yeah, I did that on accident because I was just like, oh, there's a way up here. Oh yeah, torrent just can go up here. But like, there's no progression that relies on platforming until you get to the ones that are just like the hardest shit in the world. And I'm just like, the rest of the game does a really good job, I think, of, like having things where like, okay, like this boss is too hard for you, but you could do this other thing. But yeah, like platforming is just like, it's just like, nope, right into the deep end, no middle ground. You don't get to practice platforming ever. You just fucking, you're doing it now. Fuck you.
on the tiniest fucking platforms.
On the tiniest platforms you can imagine.
Above a lake of poison.
With the most like specific possible like scenario. It's awful.
While being surrounded by birds with flamethrowers.
Yes. Or that fucking lava dungeon with the chariot, and that also has platforming on it. We're not gonna talk about the chariots, but fuck. Like awful. And I also think like, yeah, certain bosses took the piss. I think Millennia is generally regarded as just everyone kind of doesn't like her.
She has the potential to be really fucking cool. They just need to tune her damage down.
Yes,
and I think
exactly.
she would be fine.
That's I was gonna say. I was able to solo her down to a quarter health on her second phase, which I thought was I'm like okay, that's pretty good. But I didn't want to keep bashing my head against her because it's just like, yeah, if you get unlucky in either of those phases and she just like heals back up to full, you're just like, kill me, just do it.
Yeah,
bosses in general that use healing are just the worst.
Yeah, and especially since it's not healing on a successful hit, it's healing on any hit. Even if you're
blocking it and your shield negates 100% physical damage.
Yeah,
and it's like this is fucking dumb. I could maybe tolerate her healing a little bit, but like if I get her down to like 20% health, and then she does one combo on my Mimic, and that bumps her back up to like 70% health, that's demotivating. Like if she got back up to like, I don't know, 30 or 40% health.
Yeah, then it's like whatever.
Okay,
and especially since your Mimic is, again, too dumb to dodge.
Yeah.
Too dumb to dodge and too dumb to die. That's my Mimic's motto.
Yeah, like that fight was overall fairly disappointing for an ultimate boss, because like as these games have had ridiculous tough as nails optional bosses before. I mentioned you guys the Nameless King. And the Nameless King in Dark Souls 3 fucking just, it was beating my fucking goddamn head against a brick wall for hours, to the extent where I was even able to make a fucking death compilation video out of it. But every time I fought it, I was learning stuff, and it was just slowly getting better and slowly learning the timing, and I didn't have to worry about him fucking healing. Like, it was just everything, like, especially if I'm blocking, like, it was fine. It was frustrating as shit, but it was, like, I would be willing to fight him again. I never really want to fight Millennia again. Ever. Yeah. Because, like, and, like, the only
Sorry I made you fight her again.
No, it's fine. The only thing you should apologize for is doubting Morgoth.
Yeah, no, we ended up stun locking her. Well, okay, so the thing is, the reason I doubted it was because I have been mostly running like lighter swords, like faster swords. So anytime that the game has asked me to switch to a heavy weapon, I've been like, should I really switch to a heavy weapon in this boss fight? You know, like that just feels like a recipe for, I have to not only learn the boss, but also this new moveset. Like, I'm not smart enough to do that. I'm not good enough at the game to do that. But yeah, Morgoth's cursed sword was like amazing. Yeah. It was just like, just stun lock her. I think we got it in like 2 tries.
Yeah.
And the only reason we failed the first time was because I got a little too greedy and didn't heal.
Yeah,
but like,
it happens.
Yeah, shit. Yeah.
So, final thoughts on Elden Ring.
Oh, hold on. I have one more complaint.
Okay.
Functionality. there's a lot of people have described it as UI or UX type stuff, but I think there are a lot of problems with the functionality in these games, or in this game in particular. I know that you've said it's like the most accessible that a Dark Souls game has been, but I still think it has a lot of room to improve. That has been like a lot of the pain points for me. A lot of my love-hate relationship comes from this kind of like almost archaic game design sensibility that it has, where there's a couple of things that just like don't gel for me. And I just wanted to highlight a few that I had thought of while playing, and I wanted to like, ask if you guys like agreed or disagreed. One of the big ones was definitely like the target lock cameras. I feel like that stuff is it's finicky. It's not a thing like a lot of third-person games are like, struggle with that. I know one of the big complaints about Ghost of Tsushima was their targeting system in combat, and I don't disagree with that at all. Like, even though I love that game, I think that the targeting camera needed work. I think this targeted camera is way fucking worse than Ghost of Tsushima's.
Speaking as a veteran, it's basically almost the exact same camera as in or lock-on system as in Demon Souls. Thing is, in the earlier games, while it could be tedious and frustrating, it was a lot more manageable because enemies were a lot slower. Combat was a lot slower. As the combat in these games has increased, and like the mob sizes have increased, it's gotten increasingly annoying, and that was like one of the chief reasons why I don't like Sekiro, is because it has the same sort of target lock-on system, but the combat is much faster, and it makes it much more frustrating.
I can see that. That's probably where they should have probably improved it a little bit if they're going to make the enemies that much more responsive and quick. Okay, so another thing which is very basic, the menu system is rough. I think specifically that there are some instances where having the same button that opens the menu, just close it straight up. Like, it's a very simple fix, and that would have solved so many issues. The fact that it doesn't, that I have to manually back out of the menus to close them, like, especially if I'm 3 menus deep, I have to manually back out of every single one. Not great. I think that's a major functionality faux pas, in my opinion. I also think that when you have they will occasionally pop up with like if you do something, or it's essentially a soft debug pause screen. They will pop up with like a heavy door unlocked somewhere, or like you solved this puzzle and therefore something happened, right? It will appear on the screen, and there's no indication that you have to close it. The only indication is that none of your other functions work.
Oh,
you can't swing your sword.
That was annoying as fuck. And none of the previous games really did that, mostly because of the fact that the confirmation prompt, if it did happen, it usually would have like a button on it, or also
that's
like
the thing.
Previous confirmation prompt for like menu type stuff was X, so it was like it was a bit tedious.
It's triangle. It's triangle for this, and like I usually would just like press triangle as soon as I saw it. Like it got to be like a rote thing for me. But the thing is, like, not every message that pops up in that location does that. And so therefore sometimes you'll get that like where it essentially soft locks you into like a menu, basically, where it's saying like, okay, you can't hit any buttons or do any other thing except do this. And then you walk into a room with enemies, not realizing that this prompt is still up. You try to auto-target them, it doesn't work. They start attacking you, you try to attack back, it doesn't work. You get killed. It happened to my friend a lot, to the point where he was just getting so frustrated with that. And it's such a basic, you either have a button prompt on the thing to say dismiss this reminder, or you don't lock the player at all and you just auto-dismiss the reminder after a couple seconds. It's basically like the worst implementation of the like tutorial like debug pause, where it's just like, hey, there's a tutorial up, let me just like fucking fully freeze the entire game so that you can read the tutorial. And it's like, okay, that is very frustrating because it's annoyingly intrusive, but at the very least, it's not. I locked your functionality behind a message prompt. I'm not gonna like indicate that you need to dismiss this message prompt to re-enable your interactivity, but you have to, and I'm not gonna say why it's locked. It's just gonna be locked. It's just something where I'm like, come on, guys, like that's a really basic thing that you should have done and thought about. The other I have another like 3 things I wanted to complain about. I don't believe that Vox should play every time you die to a boss. I think that when you hear the exact same voice line being played every time you die to a certain phase of a boss, it gets really, really annoying. I think there's
looking at you, Margaret the Fell.
Yeah, exactly. Like or Millennia. I'm like, I think Clay just tweeted that like, did you know she's the Blade of Michaela? And I'm like, oh, I feel that. Like, I feel that so much. Where I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Stop saying that, you know? But, you know, so if there's a way to say, like, hey, this line only plays 30% of your deaths, and, you know, have it guaranteed to play on your first death, but then after that it plays 30% of the time. That's the way to do that. The other thing, which is the other 2 things, which are very minor, I don't want a rune marker dropped if I lost 0 runes on that attempt. I know other people have said, oh, well, it indicates where you died, but if I lost 0 runes in a spot, that means that I was going to the location where I previously lost my runes and I died.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to know where I died in that case. I need to know where to get back to my original runes, you know, or not, because now they're gone forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, you are rubbing salt in the wound that I just lost a shit ton of progression in many cases. And like, I feel like there's a way to say, hey, if you lost runes on progression to your previous runes, just clear the rune marker. I don't need to see that fucking reminder on the compass. I don't need it. And the last thing is, I want the state of the lantern, of the handheld lantern, to be saved on death. If I turn it on and then die, save that it was on. Like, fuck you. Your levels are dark as shit. If I turn on the lantern, don't make me re-turn it on every time I die. I have died to so many fucking elevators because it's just too dark in the room to see, and I forget that my lantern's off again. I'm just like, fuck you, game.
Elevators not resetting is dastardly.
Yes, absolutely. But I think because the thing is, like, if you progress and die, it will save. Like, if you changed your outfit, if you changed talismans, if you changed other things, like, it saves all that stuff, which is great. Props to the game for doing that. That's awesome. Don't make me redo that shit every time. So just add the lantern to that. That's all I ask.
No.
And that's it. That's the final thing of my list of complaints. So thanks for listening to my
Thanks
TED
for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. It's again, like, mostly really minor things, but it was stuff where in the heat of
Quality
already
of life.
I'm not very good at this game, I'm struggling against a boss, and then, you know,
and then to have that compounded on it.
Yeah, exactly. Randomly something bad would happen like that where I'm just like, fuck you, Dark Souls.
You eventually you eventually just will get to a point where it's just you die, and it's just thank you, Dark Souls. It's fine.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you do, but this is my first game, and I'm
no, you'll get there eventually if you keep going. It's just it'll death is nothing. It's just,
well, it's I still don't like losing a ton of progression on death.
it stings, but you'll be fine.
This Elden Ring definitely mitigates that with the rune, the collectible rune system. The rune cookies that you basically crush into your chest.
Oh, I love that. Rune cookies.
All of the games actually have that.
Oh, they do?
Yes.
Okay, thank God. Okay, well, so then it's a little bit mitigated, but it still stings when I lose like 100k because I fell off a ledge getting back to a boss. I'm just like,
No, I feel
And
that. I mean, like I told you, I've lost like 5 million souls before in
I
these
know you
games,
have.
and
And
it stings. But
yeah, I hate it just it stresses me out a lot. I think generally speaking, if it weren't for you guys kind of like being supportive and also like helping me with stuff, I still wouldn't play these games. But I'm glad I did. And
We are your summons.
well, and honestly, cuz I've been talking to my buddy Ethan cuz I'm going to help him with his platinum now. And we've been talking about like, oh, like what are we gonna do after we finish this game? Like, what are we gonna platinum something else? And I was like, he doesn't have his Bloodborne platinum either, and I don't have a Bloodborne
Sekiro.
platform. So, and Bloodborne is the one that I'm like most intrigued to do next. So I think I might try to do Bloodborne plat.
Hell yeah.
So
do
we'll
it.
see. We'll
Do
see.
it, you fucking coward.
I mean, I'm dragging you with me, James.
Not immediately. We can sync it because
Okay.
I have to do it through Extra Life anyway.
Oh, okay.
So I mean
Well-
that is something I have to do on the channel. So
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Okay.
like, yeah, but like I don't want to do 2 playthroughs of Bloodborne within quick succession, just because that is like a
Sure.
50-hour long game.
Sure. Hey, at least it's not 170, which I think is my final time.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
All right, so
Oh boy.
final thoughts on Elden Dank.
Fucking spectacular. A lot of great open world stuff going on here. A lot of great dense material packed into areas. It's got a lot of replayability. I'm already getting like the itch to try different builds.
Yeah, me too, but I don't think I'm gonna.
It is structurally frustrating with missable content and lore. And if you like to have a strong narrative guiding you through a game, you're not going to get that here unless you actively look for it. Which can make or break a game for some people. For me personally, I like to dig my teeth into obscure, hard to find little nuggets of information. So this kind of storytelling does work for me. But being able to straight up miss content is a massive issue.
Yes.
But overall, absolutely love it. It is as good as people are saying. You should definitely play it.
I think for me, going in completely blind, going in having never played any other FromSoft games and having a pretty bad impression of the discourse around these games and the general like unironic like get good gatekeeping kind of mentality. I still think it was worth it to play it.
Yeah.
I do think that like if you're somebody like me who does struggle with anxiety about certain things and just sort of I don't know, I might be unique in my issues, but I think if you're someone who's like me, like having a support system is really important, and this game very much does not dissuade you from doing that. Don't listen to the people who say it's not a legit way to play or that it makes it way easier, because you will still struggle. It's just that like, having friends, having the co-op experience is still really great. So, and like now I've gotten to the point where I got so much help with my playthrough that I just I want to like pay it forward and just like keep helping other people get through their games. So that's even though I'm done with the game and I've platinumed it, and like that is a huge fucking weight off my shoulders. I'm still gonna keep playing. I'm going to my husband is he's got a character he's playing through. He's running a melee based confessor build. So and I've been kind of just like popping into his games in areas where I'm far over leveled and just kind of like I'll occasionally draw aggro from a boss so he can kind of like get a little time to recover and then keep chipping away at it. But yeah, like yeah, it's great. I highly recommend. But I also think that like it's important to understand that not everyone derives the same satisfaction from a game that a lot of Dark Souls or Soulsborne fans derive pleasure from like finally getting good enough to beat that boss, and like sometimes that's not what's enjoyable to people. I liked my cheese strats. I liked outsmarting the game, or feeling like I outsmarted the game by, being like, oh, you're throwing you're throwing Margaret at me again? Brr. Like I liked that feeling. So I think the game has a lot to love about it, and I think it's worth the experience.
Hell yeah.
Good game. Not my favorite Soulsborne game. Happy to have a new AAA game that doesn't have a cacophony of fucking goddamn dialogue yelling at me every 30 seconds. And try Find Your Butthole.
Yeah.
It's I
know
don't,
you.
I don't like
you
hints.
mentioned-
I don't like tutorials. I don't like nonstop dialogue in gameplay.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's why I don't play most modern AAA games. Hey, use the laser pointer on the fucking hive. Oh, use it. Hey, oh my god, I can use my bow and arrow on this robot dinosaur to hit its weak point. Yeah, I fucking know. I played a video game before. Shut the fuck up, Alloy. I like figuring shit out on my own. I dig it. Yes. It's the most accessible Soulsborne game. Give it a go if you're brazen enough. Don't let anybody try to tell you how to play the game. Just play it. Have fun.
Yeah.
Go with it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. If you just want to like run off in any direction and just fucking like chip away at mobs forever and like never see a boss and just explore the whole game, power to you.
Yeah. Just watch good recommended starting point. Watch Body videos on it. Like he has a lot of reasons why you should play these games, why they're different, why they're unique. How to get overpowered early so you can have fun. Feel free to use the wikis.
If that's what you want.
Feel free to use the wikis for additional information. A lot of them are work in progress, but a huge part of these games are shared knowledge and sharing experiences and strats and what works, what doesn't work, and whatever. Yeah, it's fun. Go give it a go, and you don't have the right. Oh, you don't have the right. Oh, you don't have the right. Oh, you don't have the right.
All right. So signing off. This is Cat, okay, the attack cat.
Oh, hold on, the wrap up.
What? Oh my God, that's right. The other things we've been doing.
Yeah. I saw Jackass 4.
Elden Ring.
I saw Jackass 4. If you like Jackass, give it a go. I recommend it. Stunts are a little more tamer than in previous films, but that mostly stems from the fact that these guys are 50 fucking years old, and they cannot do that extreme stuff again. Again, they go through a lot of intense injuries in this. Like Knoxville actually got incapacitated and had brain damage because of a fucking bull. Again, and like Knoxville has said, like this is probably going to be his last Jackass film as a performer because he's 51 years old and he can't do this shit.
He deserves a nice long break from the insanity.
The only real criticisms I have for it is they brought in a bunch of new people in order to sort of almost like a passing of the torch, which makes sense. You can get the younger generation to kind of do the crazier shit. However, they brought in 6 of them, and I think that might have been a little too much because I didn't really get too much of a sense of their personalities because it was spread a little too thin.
It was too many cooks.
And the ending stunt was fun and neat, but I think underwhelming for the ending. It almost felt like it could have been anywhere in the film, to the extent where I didn't even realize it was the ending stunt until the credits actually just immediately started afterwards. So it was like, especially compared to the ending gags of the previous films, where it's a big, it's the ending sort of thing. But yeah, give it a go if you like Jackass. Right. It's fun, but also gross. Chris Pontius drinks pig cum. I almost vomited.
Oh,
good man.
He said he said it tasted better than the horse cum he drank for Jackass 2.
Oh God. Okay, well, good to know, I guess.
Good to know.
For all you cum connoisseurs out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. I binged the Netflix Detention series adaptation
Oh,
of
nice.
a Taiwanese horror game.
Oh, okay. How was that?
Oh boy, save yourself 8 hours.
Yeah, not worth it?
Oh man.
Really bad, or?
I did not enjoy it, but I had to morbidly keep watching it just to see what happened.
Of course. Yeah.
It did not delve into horror elements nearly enough. It had almost nothing to do with the game series. You could very, very much tell that they mean it when they said inspired by the game series. Because, yeah, holy shit. There were maybe 2 episodes that kind of really got into the supernatural and ghost sort of aspects of the game. And an entire episode, and I mean all 55 minutes of it, devoted to a school board hearing about a sexual assault case. And just like, I thought I was watching a horror series. What are we doing here again?
Matlock, apparently.
Save yourself the time with that one. However, take some of that spare time and go see Everything Everywhere All at Once, starring Michelle Yeoh.
Right. You mentioned
this movie fucking slaps. It is one of those cases of the less you know, the better going in. Just that it is wacky and do not be afraid to laugh.
Okay.
But it is a treat. It's a little bit longer than I expected. It's like a 2.5 hour movie. But very, very fucking good. And then the rest of my week has been Elden Ring.
Yeah, I while you guys have been talking, I've actually been struggling to try to figure out what I've done besides Elden Ring for the past, however much time. I've dipped into a couple of different Netflix series that I didn't really continue. I don't think I've really watched any movies or anything that I would like that are worth bringing up on this podcast. Scream was like the only other one, basically. I tried to start the Netflix show. I think it's Korean, where like demons.
Hellbound?
Yeah.
I got through 1 episode of that and said, "Fuck this shit."
I got through an episode and a half so far, and I've been watching it like like over lunch breaks, and I haven't wanted to go back, so I don't think I'm gonna finish that.
I don't blame you.
I also haven't finished the zombie one, the high school zombie one.
Yeah, that one's weird. It's
I might go back to that one because it intrigued me a little bit more, but yeah, otherwise, I think, gosh, no, it's really been. I mean, I'm still watching Attack on Titan. That's probably the biggest one that's like off podcast that I've been watching.
Rumbling.
I adore this season. That's actually probably what I'm gonna do right after we're done recording this, is watch the newest episode that's gonna be out tonight.
If you lose it.
No. It's like this season to me has made the entire journey so worth it. It's just it's so good. I won't get into spoilers because I know I think both of you are at least tangentially familiar with Attack on Titan. I know, Lee, I think you've read it.
I got to like the basement.
Yes.
And I've been meaning to go back.
You should go back.
Okay.
It's because I think a lot of I think the first season was like brilliant. The first season, it definitely it deserved to be cemented as like a its pop culture status deserved to be cemented in that first season, because it's so good. The animation's so strong, and it's just like, wow, like the concept is intriguing. The mystery that they keep like kind of like alluding to and constantly sort of like stumbling toward is just like, oh, it's so good. And the middle 2 seasons were okay, a little bit treading water, and a little bit like, it was obviously like setting up characters and kind of like putting more intricacies, but a lot of it was kind of like putting aside the reveals that would come later. And now this season is all reveals, and it's like reveal and then a new mystery and then reveal and then a new mystery, and it's just like, I love it so much. I'm like, the way these characters have grown up, the way like everything is kind of coming to fruition. I'm like, I could still be wrong in the end. I know Will has said, like, because he's read it already, so like he already knows everything that's gonna happen. And he said the ending is a little divisive, so I'm kind of like, okay, maybe I'll see. Like right now, I'm on board with whatever they decide to do, but like maybe I'll feel differently once the ending hits, and I'll be like, oh, stupid.
It's a big compliment I've heard to the series is that whether or not you like or dislike the ending, the author does a great job of like sticking the landing. Of like you can tell it was always the desired intention.
Yes.
So whether or not you like it or dislike it, it was done well.
That's the thing.
Which is important.
I think they're sort of like, they've been hinting at what's happening right now since the beginning. And I am so impressed by that, to the point where I've like thought about going back and rewatching stuff to catch like what I missed that they were hinting at, because they've like literally been doing it since episode 1, and I'm like, I can't believe how brazen they were about this, and then that ends up being what's actually happening, and you're just like, sorry, I will stop vague posting compliments to Attack on Titan, but seriously, I'm so jazzed about what's gonna happen, and I can't wait to see how it ends. So
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
So now the wrap up. Sorry for jumping the gun there.
Go get Elden Ring.
Go get Elden Ring. I'm Kat, aka the Attack Cat on Twitch. You can catch me. I'm probably gonna go back to streaming in a little bit. I still need to do a bunch of wrap up stuff for the charity stream, so I'm going to be doing that. But I think also, in addition to what we've donated from the stream itself, the celebratory, like, I'm going to donate more in celebration of I beat the game kind of thing.
Hell yeah.
Nice. And maybe the Bloodborne playthrough will end up being a charity stream as well. Who knows? So.
Well, fuck yeah. Well, this has been your boy, Lee Alder, the Valley Jester. Currently not streaming on Twitch. In a new living situation, and net is not as strong as my last residence. But gonna give it a shot at some point soon. I specifically made a point of not doing it with Elden Ring because that's not the kind of thing I want like a chat room of viewers for. I want to just like go for it. But I will possibly get back to it sooner rather than later.
That's kind of why I decided not to continue streaming my playthrough, just because I really loved doing the stream. I loved, having people, sit in and watch and hang out with us, but and donate money and stuff. But I think end of the day, I just wanted to experience the game, unimpeded by an audience, as it were. Yeah, or needing to talk to an audience.
Yeah. This is James, also known as Saber0307. I'm gonna get back to my normal fucking shit and mopping up the Extra Life stuff. Because Elden Ring is done. Anyways.
Hell yeah.
Trifinger butthole. Everybody get fucked.
And fuck the Lake of Rot.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, you don't have the right, or you don't have the right, or you don't have the right.
Didn't expect plump sort.
Try jumping. Hidden path ahead.
Oh, God.
Liar ahead.